Morning.
It is 9 o'clock approximately on Wednesday, July the 5th. I'd like to call to order the Board of County Commissioners. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Prince, please lead us.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Ketnig.
Here.
Commissioner Hood.
Present.
Commissioner Prince.
Here.
Attorney Clint Smith.
Present.
And Clerk to the Board Kelly Camper present.
Thank you. Are there any additions or amendments to the agenda this morning?
Just under for me, I have the SIPA Open Media Project paperwork to sign under old business.
Okay. Jay?
I do not have anything, sir.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as amended, adding a SIPA report under old business?
I'll make the motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. This time we'll do the audience introduction, and what we like to do, folks, is we get your voice, and as we record it, if we try to go back and figure out who said what or whatever, we've got at least a little bit for Kelly to try to figure out where we were. We'll start right over here.
Jackie Bugler for the Sentinel. Peggy Martin from Wetmore.
Mike Martin, Wetmore. Gary Hain, Wetmore.
Ray Garber, Wetmore.
Sue Pittman.
Lockett Pittman.
Gary Ziegler, Bear Basin Ranch.
Marvin Boyd, Colorado Springs.
Thank you and welcome. I guess we got everybody. This time I'd like to move into the public comment. If we have something that takes a long time, we'll add it as an agenda item for a future meeting. But we do like to hear what you folks have on your mind, what your concerns are. So at this time, we would welcome any comments that you'd wish to make.
Do we wait for the executive session or
Pardon me?
do we wait for the cattle guard on 390?
We can talk about, if you got some comments to make, the executive session will be is between us because it's
gotcha.
regarding a legal issue. But if you'd like to make some comments, we would certainly welcome them. Sure.
Right, I'm totally against it.
Okay.
Dr. Hamilton's got a couple of bulls out now. They challenged Hawk. And my grandkids happen to like the quads on the property and ride them. And I'm not gonna have my grandkids in danger with that damn bull. Sorry.
I appreciate that. I've had some conversations yesterday, and I'm contacting Brand Inspector, and I appreciate your concern. We will be talking about that as we address some of these issues. But I had a phone call yesterday from probably one of your neighbors.
Yeah, because the
Is that a bull or is it a steer?
Bull.
It is a bull.
would you like to see a picture of?
Sure. See what his rack looks like. Yes, sir.
If I can ask a question, and I mean this completely respectfully, I just don't know the answer. How would the cattle guards, either being there or not being there, affect the road and your children using it?
The fence aren't keeping the bull in. He's loose now, or two of them are loose now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were concerned about the cattle guards, not the fence.
Let's just kind of back this up a little
Please.
bit. Up until,
Let me stop you just a second, so I get a foundation. Is this land that Chubb used to own?
No.
Okay, go ahead. I was just trying to
the,
locate.
well, it borders it.
Okay.
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 I also border Doc Hamilton stuff. Used to be the Haynes property, but after a whole bunch of litigation on his part, they had to sell because they couldn't afford the place anymore. Okay, same kind of litigation that he's trying to do now. So I have a very dim opinion of the man. All right, so you might as well just know that, right? But I also know that he doesn't take care of his fences, okay? And I do have a fence line runs alongside my property that is his fence. I presume on his property because he had it
Is that
surveyed and stuff.
is yours a 4-wire,
Yeah,
Oh.
well, it's,
42 inches or so?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Standard fence.
It's a
Yeah.
nice fence,
Yeah.
or it was. But the fire went through there and everything, and after that, nobody's ever worked on fixing it, okay? And there's other fences that, again, fire went down, and now he's running these cows and bulls in this case, so they get out, okay? And unfortunately, these aren't pets, okay? He's got some kind of wicked bulls. You know, nothing wrong with that if you keep them
Well,
away from everybody. But
same,
now, as far as his open range idea, I'm just an old North Dakota farm boy, but I lived in ranching area all my life, and I cannot believe that some guy for a few acres on one side or the other of a county road thinks he needs to have open range, because I grew up with ranchers and stuff like that. This is asinine. 2 gates so he can run his cows on one side or the other? Yeah, I'm all for that. That's his prerogative, that's his right to do. But I never see him or any of his guys on a horse ever. And how you ride a fence line without a horse in the property that we got up there is more than I know.
how, are the bulls still out?
Yes,
This morning,
yes.
as far as you know?
Yes.
Yeah. So when you start looking at what he's got on this thing and these fence lines and everything else on the thing, know who you're dealing with. This guy is, I've dealt with ranchers, you know, good share of my life. He isn't.
So if I could just follow up, because I'm a little confused.
Please.
What you're suggesting is that Dr. Hamilton put up fences to keep his bulls on his own property? Are they going onto your property? I'm a little confused.
Yes, they have been, okay? But I guess what I'm trying to tell you is, if you fence the county road down there and give him, well, I would suggest that you tell him to fix his fences for one thing, rather than tearing down fences, which is what he has done. He maybe should be fixing the ones that he's got.
No, there's an old adage, I'm sure you've heard it, but good fences make good neighbors.
Yes.
And
That's not a good neighbor.
that's
What we
the,
have right now.
well, the point I'm making is that our industry historically is that we accept the responsibility of maintaining fences, at least our boundary fences with our neighbors. Now, this bull, are you adjacent to Hamilton, or did you just come off Mike's property? Well, there's Mike. Did it come from you, or?
No, that bull was on Lona's property, which is right next door to me.
Okay.
And
okay.
when I saw the bull, I thought, wow,
That,
I wonder if Steph's got a cow out. So I took a picture of it, and she said, no, it wasn't hers.
does your property border Dr. Hamilton's?
It's right off the corner of 391. There is a fence line of his that comes down there.
Just
That
one
current fence
little
line is
spot.
down, which is where the cows come through.
And this borders you?
And then that touches right into where it would come
To
into
the county road.
to the county road, to 391, which opens up that whole road, the whole length of that. It will open up to the cattle in there too.
Okay.
So my concern is them moving down further, and they've already been into the neighbors, which is just, and the old cattle guards that were there, they've been closed in. The county closed them in and filled them full.
Yeah,
So there's
that's
no
something we
hearing.
need to bring up. On 391, which is actually on my property.
Yes.
Okay, if you're gonna play this cattle guard game, then we need to dig up the cattle guard that has been gravelled over on 391 to try to protect us from Hamilton stuff.
There's two of them. Two cattle guards have been closed over.
And where are they located?
Right at the front of 391, and then at Lona's property where
Yeah,
it's
And these are completely
390 and
buried.
391.
The one closest to Lona, it's somewhat there, but it's pretty well filled in. It needs a lot of work.
Same kind of thing. The other one is at the intersection of 390 and 391. But if we're looking, if we're gonna say he's got free reign and he can do whatever he wants, then we need to do that, because right now, my fence line protects my property, and I do have a gate and I can close it. If he cannot take care of his own stuff, I can close my gate and protect my property, except for the cattle guard that's down there. I would have to gate that, or I don't think it's my job to dig that back up, okay? It's on county road.
This is a cattle guard that's
That's
full.
been there, yeah, it's been graded across. I didn't have a problem with the grading across the thing, as long as we don't have things like these bulls out. So, I guess what I'm trying to say here is that
I think
this whole thing is a
I
mess.
think we appreciate your remarks.
Thank
Jay, you wanted to?
Well, I was just going to ask, because I'm not a cattle person, but what would you propose as a fair solution so that Dr. Hamilton still can run his animals, yet you're protected, your grandchildren are protected? What would be a solution that you think would work?
Yeah, I actually said that, but apparently
Say it
it
again,
kind of
please.
got lost. If he's got property on this side of the road and property on this side of the road, of the county road, perhaps a gate on both sides that you could open and close off on either side so he can drive his cattle across the thing and graze this land and then take them back on the other side would make sense. You know, farmers and ranchers where I grew up had more than one pasture, okay? And they were forever moving cattle from one to another type of thing, depending on the amount of grass you've got and whether you needed to or not. Well, that's all he needs, okay?
Thank you, I understand that.
I've got a gentleman, this,
Point being, I think, cattle guards be cattle guards. The point is that bull's on Stephanie Smith's property this morning. Been there since yesterday. And that's quite a ways down. It's a longhorn bull. Years ago in the state, I don't know what the laws are now, but it was against the law to run a dairy bull in the pasture. You had to keep that dairy bull in a corral. My neighbor down there where I live, right across the highway, Virgil Lawson, he raised longhorns. He had a longhorn bull. That bull got out of his corral, out of Virgil's pasture, and put Floyd Hastings in his house. Went across 2 fences in County Road. He was there at the fence, trying to come across the highway, hit me and my wife. I went to the house and got a gun. Virgil come by and asked me, what's wrong? I said, take care of your bull or I will. Virgil sold the bull. The main thing is you can't run bad bulls in this territory unless you've got a lot of pasture. Now, where you got people living down there, no. The law is you fence that bull in, and you got to fence out too. But he has the responsibility of maintaining his fences. And to come and ask the county, which I'm part of, it's the county tax dollars, it's going to pay that cattle guard down there and everything like that. He should maintain his fences. Why should we put the cattle guards in? Stephanie also wanted me to mention to you that she heard about the easement on that road there, that you guys wanted to abandon the easement. She owns the property to the east. They thinking about building up there one of these days to where the road ends.
this would be on your east side?
Just walked in, so I didn't hear what he was talking
On the easement to the county road that they want to abandon.
That goes right to
Stephanie's
Smith's
property.
property line, yeah.
And she don't want you to
It
abandon
goes
it.
to her property
To
line?
her property line.
Because the maps we've seen doesn't show that it goes that far east.
Are we talking about 391?
Yes. It used to go that far.
391 used to drop over and drop it down to 96 because 96 didn't exist before.
On the road, and that's the easement we were looking at.
Yeah.
That goes along,
Or is that the 390? That's the 390,
You're
I
referring
think it's
to,
390.
yeah, the 391 is what he's talking
you're
about.
referring to County Road 390.
390.
Okay.
We've not
Yeah,
looked
I
at,
guess what people are saying here is, if you have an easement for a county road and everything, maybe the county really ought to be taking care of that county road in total, all the way down to Mike's, which he's been taking care of, which I'm ashamed of our county for, okay? They should have been taking care of it all the way down to his place for, what, 20 years? So he's been doing that, so I would suggest we cut Mike a little slack and give him whatever he wants because of what we have not done in the past, okay?
To clear the air, sir, and my colleagues, I think, back from it, we have not discussed any type of easement abandonment on 398.
Well, we went on your site, your
On
website.
391,
And we listened to some of the conversation there, and you talked about
Yes.
abandoning the easement.
On 390.
On
no,
390.
that
That was
was,
last
excuse me,
week.
that was a misspoken because it's 391. It's not 390, we've done nothing. That's, you're talking about the road off to the left. And we've done nothing, no, we have no desire to do anything over there. We're talking about an easement that goes along Mike's fence
Which is 390.
that
That's
goes right on his south boundary. And then, but then it kind of curves back to the northeast. And that was the one we were talking about.
Oh.
And that was,
But I'm here trying to represent Stephanie. She had.
oh, I appreciate that. You
The
bet.
thing about it is, I've been here since 1970 down there in Wetmore, running cattle. And this is not, open range is open range.
There's one other point I'd like to correct in a polite way, sir. A longhorn isn't a dairy. Longhorn's a beef herd.
I know that. I realize that.
And
But
we
the
get
thing about
down,
it is, you've got
probably
to address
another
the
issue,
pool.
and I'm almost hesitant to go here. But on the other side of it, if something becomes a public nuisance, there may be some relief there. Sheriff Barley?
That was my next question, was what is our legal right when this bull comes through the down fence and we...
I've got a quick question, if I may. Do you want to make any comments? We've got a, sure, go ahead.
Just to, sir, you brought up a very important point that we have discussed multiple times. It hopefully will be resolved very, very soon about the county road and Mr. Halpern, Sergeant Halpern, maintaining a county road. That is a major concern of the three of us. And while I cannot speak for for the other commissioners, I absolutely agree with you. This is not a personal representative should take care of a county road. So that's something that has been
And we
under this
we
all
agree
the way
with
through.
that. I got a question for you, Shannon. We've got a bull, or let's just say any animal, domestic animal, be it a mule or whatever. If that is getting out and is causing a public threat, do you have any recourse on anything like that? And I'll throw you another curveball, but let you catch this one first.
Well, I mean,
If you don't know how much,
so I guess it depended if I owned a backhoe or not. Quite frankly, I'm going to be honest with you. That's the point I'm at, especially when the owner knows and was advised and has been talked to that that animal's a nuisance and won't take care of it.
well,
If I owned a backhoe or knew somebody owned a backhoe, it wouldn't be a nuisance anymore. And that may not be the politically correct answer, but it's ridiculous. If you have an animal, so I would contact the brand inspector right away and say, okay, listen,
I called him yesterday, and I will call him again as soon as I get a hold of Deb. But I'm wondering if we have an animal out here that if I've got an animal that's getting out and fighting cars on the road or with my neighbor that's a physical threat. Do we have anything here that would be actionable?
So I mean, I don't have the resources to go load one up or to do it. I mean, from the sheriff's office standpoint, I don't have those resources to do that. And then where do I put it?
I'm not talking about you collecting it. That's a brand.
You're talking the commissioners have recourse on it?
Pardon me?
Are you talking that the commissioners have recourse?
Could you write a summons for someone's animal trespassing on someone else's property? That's just a question. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you could, because they're cattle, so you're required to have them fenced in. So that, that's it's not maintaining for cattle, but of course, if you're talking a horse or something, that those requirements aren't there, but you can still, you're required to keep cattle fenced in.
But my question being, if you have an animal, a domestic animal that's gotten out and is a physical threat to your safety, do they have any recourse other than personal action? From the sheriff's standpoint?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, okay.
Not that I'm aware of, but I mean, typically, an owner would take care of it.
But get back to the point of the bull, because bull is a bull, and if you run a bull, everybody that owns a bull in the state of Colorado has to have that bull to the vet, and he has to be tested for, how do you pronounce that?
Trichomoniasis.
Yes, and this bull does not have a tag in his ear.
Oh.
So right there is a health problem. And here, the way I understand it, here, not too long ago, here in this county, you had 2 cases up here
Yep.
for this
Yes.
disease.
Yes.
And this bull is without a tag, has not been vet checked.
Bryce should handle that, wouldn't he, Mr. Garber?
The thing about it is
I
the vet
think,
said he doesn't have any, so we're contacting the state vet now to see what he can do.
and I think that's the right thing to do. Because we do have stronger trick laws in Colorado than some states have.
Yes.
And I fought trick for 20 years in Arizona, and I've
just
seen
coming to the point where
herds decimated by trick.
That's,
Yes, sir.
Okay, I spoke to Stephanie last night also.
yeah.
Stephanie Hing, or Smith.
Smith.
I spoke to them yesterday also. And the runaround that she got, okay, number one, she called the sheriff. The sheriff said, call you. You said, call the brand inspector. The brand inspector says, I can't do anything because you know who owns the animal. So it was a roundabout
I will
that
call
went nowhere.
I will call the state brand office today because I think that's stretching it.
Well, that's what they told her. She can't.
I grew up here in the cattle business. I've been in it all my life.
The brand inspector
And-
wouldn't do anything, you wouldn't do
Well,
anything, and the sheriff wouldn't.
When we talk to the state office, they might have a little different tone. I find that unacceptable because that is their responsibility by law. And they gathered the animal. First of all, how do we know it belongs to him? Nobody's made a brand inspection on that animal, right? I mean, as a point of law, as an stray.
He was fenced in on his property till he took the fence down. How can you do?
Exactly.
Bingo.
It's his damn bull. I mean, anybody that says it ain't his bull's a moron. Excuse me, but he was fenced on his property. He took the damn fence down, and now they're running free. There's no doubt whose bull it belongs to. The fact is, the guy's irresponsible. He wants it his way, and he's not going to negotiate.
Let's not go that way. I'm trying to get down.
I'm just saying the fact.
I understand where you're coming. I appreciate you, but the brand inspector has a responsibility of gathering strays, and if they know who it belongs to, then it's their responsibility, I think, as it used to be, that they contact the owner and say, we're going to shut this bull up and sell it, or you come and get it. But that's just me speaking. I'll call the state brand office when we're done with our meeting today.
Or we could rent a backhoe and take care of it.
And I will. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, you did.
But that bothers me. Yes, ma'am.
When I first moved back home, one of Dr. Hamilton's bulls were in the field. And if it wouldn't have had the dog, the thing would have taken us on the green machine. And I told Dr. Hamilton about it. He said, oh, now, Peg, I feed them cow cake. They're nice babies. And I told him I would feed him a 30-30, and I will.
Well, let's stay within what we need to.
But Dr. Hamilton doesn't care.
Take care of it.
Yes, ma'am. I
He
appreciate
also,
you. But-
his cows, well, I shouldn't say his cows, he rented some land, and of course the fences were junk, okay? So the cows got out, they came, visited my place, tore up everything, ate my garden and everything, and we chased them out of our property, okay? Again, if that cattle guard had been there, they couldn't have made it onto our property, but that cattle guard's covered over on the county road. So they came trotting down 390 and went in and, you know,
Okay.
yeah, it's a problem. Also, if you're taking care of a county road, ask the county guys if they really want to grade through cattle.
That road is a county road, and the fact that we don't ask the county guys if they want to grade it. If we receive tax dollars on a road, we have to maintain it at least once a year.
No, you misunderstand what I'm saying. When I say grade it, when it could, you know, I'm assuming that they're going to do their duty, or you guys are, and work that road. But if there's a cattle guard on a road, which is why I talked to 2 guys that work down there in Wetmore, and I told them they could go ahead and gravel across that which now I regret because of Hamilton, okay? So now I've got part of, an opening into my property and into their property and to a couple others down the line on the thing, that
So
if
this-
that cattle guard was still there, wouldn't happen.
Is it fair to say this then, from what you've told me, that this situation has existed for some time?
I've been there 20 years, and for the greater share of it, yes.
Okay, so
And in
that
different
happened,
things.
that happened before they took the fence down.
Yeah, that one did. But again,
I'm just trying to,
Yes.
but again, yeah,
There's been an issue with cattle all the time.
okay, well,
but always his.
I appreciate that, and yes, ma'am.
It's not just Dr. Hamilton's cows, because sometimes Steph's cows get out, but I call her, and within
Like that.
20 minutes or so, the girls are up there horseback or in a truck and gathering them up. Not an issue.
I appreciate that, ma'am. Yes,
Is it it is my understanding, not a question. It is my understanding that over the past 20 or so years, the county's policy, maybe not official policy, but they have moved away from cattle guards, that they don't want to put more in. And suddenly now Hamilton asks for them, and now we're considering them. That's just my impression. I don't know if that's true or not. Feel free to address that.
okay, any other questions? Any other comments? Yes, sir.
I've got a comment. Number one, I'm Marvin Boyd, and I was here at the last meeting about the cattle guards. And from what I'm hearing, it sounds like it's more of a fencing issue than it is a cattle guard issue. And, I reached out to Mr. Halpin's attorney last week to have a conversation about the fencing issue, and I haven't heard back from him because we know that needs to get addressed on behalf of Dr. Hampton. Okay? Just wanted to share that. The cattle guards, I think, are distinct from the fencing issue, but it needs attention. And I think the other comment I heard that is other neighbors are more responsive than Dr. Hamilton. I personally don't know or don't, but I hear what you're saying.
Holy smokes. Are you here for us?
We'll see.
And one more comment. The
Quickly,
dust,
yes, sir.
the dust had not settled on the meeting that we had in Wetmore before that fence came down that is up there right now that kept those steers, those bulls in. They're sitting there. The dust hadn't settled and that fence was down. That quick.
Anything else?
And they knew that those bulls were in there.
Anything else?
I have nothing else.
I'd like to have anything, you'd like to ask for anything?
I just have one comment, and I own several pieces of property in the valley, and I happen to lease out some of that land, over 200 acres, with a cattle lease. And I do maintain my fences.
Thank you.
So I find it a little, I'm concerned that the fences aren't being maintained.
I don't know what we have as a county right on private property for fences. I don't think,
I can address that when we go into executive session. I can address a lot of these
if you folks would
legal
like to
issues.
stay around until after we get through with the executive session, then we'll come back out. And this will be some of the topic of discussion if you would like to.
Okay.
Be glad to have you. Gary?
Well, I have 8 cattle guards and 15 miles of fences, but I want to say something about state statutes, that 2 adjoining landowners are responsible for maintaining a fence, and one landowner can do it and then put a lien on the property of the others if he's not compensated. So there is state relief on that legally.
I don't think I want to get into a legal battle with Dr. Hamilton. Why would I do that?
But it's important to know what the law is.
You can go file a lien on their property.
Yeah, and then he's after me. He's been after poor Mike forever. He ran the Hayneses out of there. All of it through legal means. Why would anybody in their right mind try to get him to go after you
I don't
and
know,
sue you?
but my neighbors helped me fix my fence.
I think we're getting beyond.
I'm
where
sorry.
we- I
I'm sorry,
appreciate it. No, sir, you're fine, no problem. Okay, any other comments? All right, thank you for your, yes, sir.
I think there was one.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, Sue. I mean,
No, I'm just kind of confused because when we moved here 10 years ago, we were told that this is an open range place, and if we didn't want the cattle up around our house, we had to build a fence around our house. So we built a fence around our house, and we had to fence them out. So I just, we were told the wrong thing? Did we build all that extra fence?
No.
That's the law too.
No, that is the law. That's the law in North Dakota where I grew up. And North Dakota has national grasslands that make anybody's idea of open range here pitiful, okay? So when people down there have it, yeah, they have fences around their homesteads and stuff like that. That's kind of normal when you have something like that. But when you have what you're talking about, if I don't know where you live, but if you have to fence just around your house, that's not really good.
I appreciate your comment. We
I'm
need
just
to-
confused.
No, it is the state law, as I understand it. But let's, if nothing else, folks, I'd like to move on so we can get through our executive session and then come back. Yes?
My attempt to reach out to the attorney was to talk about the fencing and how we can come to an agreement with the Halpins on the fencing where it need to be. So that's an ongoing conversation right now.
Okay, thank you. All right, we need to go along. Do we
have to do these.
have any minutes to approve?
Yes.
Yes, we have two
Two
sets.
sets.
Two sets.
The 21st and the 30th.
Okay, have you both, do you have any additions or corrections to the minutes as submitted to us?
No, I'd like to make a motion to approve both sets of minutes, one on the 21st of June and one on the 30th of June as submitted.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor, say
Well done again, thank you.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Commissioner items.
I have just one quick one. I'll make it very quick. I met with the Upper Arkansas Council of Government the other week. Commissioners from our 4 adjoining counties were there. It was very enlightening, a lot of things going on, and I just want to report that we are well represented and it went very, very well.
Okay.
No commission items.
And I have none at this time. At this time, we will move into the attorney items. Do you have anything we want to discuss before we go to executive session?
Just that I went to that meeting last Friday. It's the reason I wasn't at the commissioners' meeting, and I do want to make a report on that. But that would need to be done in executive session because that deals with a security issue for the county. And we could put it on tomorrow for an executive session for that purpose, or I could report on that today if you wish. We need to identify it. If we go into executive session, it would be not just for me to give you some legal advice about the cattle guard issue, but also to give you a report on the other issue.
I think I would like to hear it today
I
rather
would
than
like
tomorrow.
to hear it today,
All right.
since it is security.
Yes. That's all I had for attorney items.
Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
Excuse me, Bob, could we possibly go to resolution 17-12 first?
Sure.
That's under old business, since we have some gentlemen here that relates to.
Floor is yours.
Okay, and could I don't have a copy of the resolution, could I? Thank you very much. This is a proposed resolution. With your permission, I would like to read this resolution and then ask the 3 of you to make a decision on it. But and I would like Under Sheriff Barr, Sergeant Halpin, and Deputy Schock to come forward here while I read this resolution, and Sheriff Byerly also.
Dan Chut.
It is pronounced Schock, that's how you pronounce it. Okay. Custer County Resolution Number 17-12, a resolution honoring Under Sheriff Chris Barr, Sergeant Mike Halpin, and Deputy Brandon Schock of the Custer County Sheriff's Office for extraordinary heroism. Whereas on October 16, 2016, a very large, fast-moving wildfire known as the Junkins Fire presented extreme danger to residents in the rural areas of eastern Custer County. And whereas the Junkins Fire spread very quickly due to high winds and extremely dry conditions, and whereas Under Sheriff Chris Barr of the Custer County Sheriff's Office responded during the early stages of the fire to help evacuate residents along the Colorado Highway 165 corridor and was on the scene around the clock directing rescue operations during the fire. And whereas Under Sheriff Barr was observed repeatedly risking his own safety and well-being on several occasions, and whereas on one specific occasion, Under Sheriff Barr was seen driving into several residences along County Road 358, despite the fact the road was fully engulfed in flames, in order to make sure the residents had been able to evacuate safely. And whereas Sergeant Mike Halpin of the Custer County Sheriff's Office also responded during the early stages of the fire to help evacuate residents along the Colorado Highway 165 corridor, often placing his own safety at risk to ensure the residents were safe. And whereas on one specific occasion, Sergeant Halpin, with no regard for his own safety, was seen driving into a residence on Highway 165, which was engulfed in flames, to make sure the residents had been able to get out of the home, and then to shut off the propane to the residents. And whereas Deputy Brandon Schock of the Custer County Sheriff's Office also answered the call of duty during the Junkins fire and repeatedly placed himself in imminent danger while assisting with evacuations and ensuring residents were safely out of their homes. And whereas on one specific occasion, Deputy Schock was observed driving his vehicle up a very steep road on a burning mountainside for a distance of approximately 1/2 mile, despite fire lining both sides of the road and trees exploding near his vehicle. And whereas the extraordinary heroism demonstrated by Under Sheriff Barr, Sergeant Halpin, and Deputy Schock during the Junkins fire exemplified their commitment to providing outstanding service to the citizens of Custer County and to the agency for which they work. And whereas Under Sheriff Barr, Sergeant Halpin, and Deputy Schock were each awarded the Medal of Valor by Custer County Sheriff Shannon Byerly for their heroic actions during the Junkin fire. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of County Commissioners for Custer County, a political subdivision of the state of Colorado, that Under Sheriff Chris Barr, Sergeant Mike Halpin, and Deputy Brandon Schock of the Custer County Sheriff's Office are hereby recognized and honored by the citizens of Custer County for their extraordinary heroism demonstrated during the Junkins fire and for their commitment to protect the lives of those they serve. Thank you, Chris, Mike, and Brandon, from a very grateful and appreciative community.
Now you know why we had to ask for so many new cards.
Thank God we got some to run, huh?
Burn wheels off of them.
Thank you for reading that. Do I hear a motion to approve this?
With honor, I make a motion to approve this resolution.
Honored to know all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second
Thank
that
you.
motion.
I only have one comment to make, and I also honor and respect what you folks have done. Sheriff Barley and I have visited about this, and I think you've had a little bit of wildland fire training since the fire. And my concern is that, how do I say this? I don't want you guys to get someplace that you get trapped and get burned up, because I mean, when you handle other law enforcement issues, there is a certain level of your personal safety, and I do want you to please respect your personal safety, because you're all valuable officers.
Thank you.
And with no more said, do I call for the vote? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Congratulations, gentlemen, and thank you for your services.
Thank you.
Hold on just a few minutes here.
You want to say anything, Sheriff?
I just thank Mr. Smith for putting that together, and I appreciate you guys recognizing that they did a good job.
And if you'd wait just a minute, just a second here.
So,
Kelly, does Brenda have frames for this?
yes,
Okay,
we're right here.
all right, very good.
This what we did?
Okay, I think at this time I'm going to call just a 5-minute recess, because I think if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to get some pictures with these gentlemen and certificates. You folks would just stay just a second. This is kind of, I hope you bear with us just a second, please. Where do you want them to go out in the hall, or just right here? Where would it be?
Is there a decent wall that doesn't have something on it? Maybe out in the hallway.
She needs to get rid
All
of
right.
No, we have to make a motion to go out before she turns off.
I wasn't even back on yet.
And I'll call us back to order. At this time, we'll go into executive session. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
I'll move that we go into executive session to receive advice from legal counsel.
I'll second the motion as stated.
All right. Commissioner Prince made a motion, seconded by Commissioner Hood, to go into executive session, citing Colorado Revised Statutes 246402. This will be regarding some, help me out.
It's two issues. One is the issue of Dr. Hamilton's request for cattle guards on a portion of County Road 390. The other is for me to give you an update on information concerning a security issue, both of which are legitimate reasons to go into an executive session.
Are they both under legal?
The advice on the county road is legal advice. The other one is just informative. That part of it should be recorded.
Okay.
Okay. I do ask your folks' indulgence. We don't have any place else to go but stay here. And we would like to keep this hallway open if we can, because these walls aren't very thick. So if you would stay back in that hallway.
I can't hear you.
So you're going downtown.
Okay. Thank you.
You need to call for the question.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Hang around. We'll be back.
Oh.
I could do that.
I'd like to call the Board of County Commissioners meeting back to order. I attest that I am the chairperson of the Custer County Board of Commissioners and confirm that the discussion remained on topic and no matters were adopted, no actions or decisions were made.
During the executive session, as was stated on the record before we went into executive session, I did make a report to the commissioners on a security issue that was a matter of record. And then we went to the issue of the cattle guards, and I gave legal advice to the commissioners. There was discussion about various options that were available to them. No decisions were made during the executive session.
Okay, thank you. This isn't working. We've already taken care of the resolution under old business. At this time, would you like to discuss the cattle guard?
Sure.
Or collectively?
Yeah, you can go first.
We're adding this to the open agenda, folks.
My opinion, this is a long-standing, ongoing issue. Obviously, I think a lot of this is neighbors who are not getting along well. Where does the county fit into this? Is the question I keep wrestling with. I was extremely disappointed that the county paid a huge sum of money in a land dispute that I felt the county should never have been involved in. I made it an issue when I ran for commissioner that this was just a debacle and we should never have been involved. Our cost to the county is somewhere in the neighborhood of $150,000 that we just threw out the window. I don't like this issue. I don't like any part of it. I think if you guys can't get along, I'm sorry, make a change. I've listened to legal advice on what we have and what we don't have, what our options are and what they aren't. We could play judge, the three of us. I don't want to do that. That's not my job. My job is to protect this county. And as such, my feeling is that I will not make a decision, I personally will not make a decision as to who's right, who's wrong, whether that fence should have come down, which I found despicable. A few hours after, our attorney said that this, it was on Hamilton's land, he could do what he wanted. Within hours, that fence was torn down. I found it just as despicable when I heard Mrs. Halpern talk about, Ms. Halpern talk about a piece of road equipment that's blocking a gate to Dr. Hamilton's land. Obviously, you guys need to work it out. This is not a county commissioner issue. My feeling is, unless there's an agreement between the parties wherein the county, where Dr. Hamilton erects the fence back that he took back out, that we should not do anything. If that was done, I would say let's put the cattle guards in, and I will at least help placate some of this. But the bottom line is, I find it despicable that we're in the middle trying to be the judge of a problem between you landowners. So that's my opinion.
Okay, Donna?
Wasn't succinct, but it was my feeling.
I need a little more clarification, I guess, from everybody that's in this room. Okay. Are you, the neighbors, saying that you had not contacted Dr. Hamilton about his bull? Did anybody place that call?
I did not, but I know he was called.
Mike?
Mike?
I did. First day they were out.
And what was the response?
He sent, within 1 hour, an hour and a half, he sent one of his guys to help tear the fence out over there to try and catch the bulls. That he showed up on foot, that he tried to entice him with cake, and the bulls took off, and they left.
And you never heard anything back from Dr. Hamilton?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Then I guess I'm going to ask Gary, you are a friend of Dr. Hamilton's. You've helped work his cattle. I know that.
Yes.
I'm just trying to use good old common sense here and saying Dr. Hamilton may or may not be aware of the fact of what the condition is that he's caused with his neighbors. And to me, it's almost like a public safety issue. If he was made aware of that, okay, do you think he would address it?
I think he's going to be aware of it now, and he would address it.
Okay,
I know that he was going on all last week because we had the Pike Street Range ride, and I was with him on that with 160 other guys.
Okay. So, we did, and Bob will speak on this, we did contact the state veterinarian, okay? And his suggestion is to capture that bull and have it tested. And there's 2 of them, okay? And I think Dr. Hamilton, as a cattle owner, would do the right thing if that...
He would do that, but traditionally, the law only applies to resale of a bull. For instance, I have a couple of bulls that aren't tested.
Okay.
Because we don't plan to sell the bull.
Okay.
But yes, in a sense of goodwill, I think he would do that.
I think he would, I would hope that he would do that. So I guess I'm requesting that information get back to him and that he does handle this promptly.
There's maybe another caveat, Gary, and I'm certainly not a lawyer. Excuse me, I'll shut up. Go ahead. Please continue. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Is he back now from the ride?
Yes.
Okay, so is he down in Wetmore?
You know, I haven't talked to him, Mark.
No, he's in Texas right now and gets back Saturday.
But there's a way to reach him by phone.
Yes, we can.
Right? So I guess we can do that also, but I guess what I'm saying, in lieu of all the neighbors that are here, and everybody is a neighbor here, and we'd like to see you get along. I can't be a judge of that, but to me, that should be the first thing, is have Dr. Hamilton made aware of what has happened, what has transpired here. Because I'm going to be honest with you, when we sat on the 21st of June and we talked about that fence coming down or not coming down, not even 24 hours occurred and the fence came down without us having this executive session. So I'm a little concerned of the timing of that. I mean, I understand that is his land, but I don't know if he understood the ramifications that were going to happen with the neighbors right there. So that's my concern. Does he understand the ramifications that happened since that fence went down? And that's where I am.
Bye. Okay, thank you. Gary, I think you're right from the standpoint that you don't have to have a bull trick tested as long as it's on your property. The fact that this bull has crossed into other properties, he has to will be under the auspices of the state trick law. Right now, at least this is what we got from the state veterinarian, and Shannon has also, unbeknownst to us, had also just recently had a conversation with him, is that the bull can be gathered, can be penned, that come out and trick tested, and the bull will remain until whether the test comes back negative or positive. And this is because the animal, in leaving Dr. Hamilton's property, has now exposed other animals. The bull hopefully is negative. But we do have situations where we have a very low level of trick in herds that really isn't apparent to the owner. But I had this in Arizona where we had some serious trick problems. But I think, and please, I'm not an attorney, but as I understood from the assistant state vet that we talked to, was that need to have somebody gather the bulls and pin them up, get a vet out and trick test them, and then wait till we get the results of the test. The bull may go back to back to Dr. Hamilton's place and be holding the crow there or something. But until we get the results of the test, we don't know whether the bull is a suspect or not. Then at that time, the decision will be made, but the bull will be identified that he has been trick tested. And if it had stayed, and I think you're correct, and I'm not up on the color of the law, but I think you're correct, as long as it stayed on your property, it didn't have to be tested. But once it left your property, it then becomes applicable under the state law. So in terms of that, we haven't talked to Shannon since we talked to the vet, but would you be in any position to help get that bull gathered up, or those two bulls?
Marv and I were just talking about that. I think I can send a crew down there. I think I can send a crew down there from my place to help out. I understand the bull is just above the Wetmore right now. The red barn.
I think there's two bulls down there, right, folks?
Yes.
Is one gone and one gathered, or?
Two.
Okay.
You got a big black one and a big black and white one.
Yeah, I don't know the animal.
Well-
And this lady can tell you exactly where they were this morning.
Well, no,
Oh.
Steph can.
Okay, but I mean, we can get you that information.
But I'm hoping when I get home and coordinate, I send a crew down from the ranch and deal with it. So, also, the law for everybody's interest is that anybody who has the facilities can corral livestock on their property and hold it, and then the owner is responsible to pay for boarding costs and all of that. So if somebody has a corral there, that bull could be held. And then Dr. Hamilton would be responsible for recovering it and paying for it.
I was told by a fence builder that my fence is adequate, but big bulls like that, it wouldn't hold them.
Well,
and they'd take it out in a heartbeat.
Well, I think that's a separate issue from where we are right now, because the fencing thing is something that
Well,
needs to
what
be
he's saying
addressed.
is he
But
wanted me to corner it and hold it for Dr. Hamilton. I ain't touching it.
And you don't
No,
need to.
this is for
No, no.
someone with a corral and an adequate facility.
No, we have to, and the problem that I see, and I'm going to where my livestock specialist at for a minute. Some animals have a less than desirable disposition when they're under pressure, when they're cornered. I've seen animals clear 5.5, 6 foot corral fences when they're agitated. At the same time, though, I've seen animals that get nervous and when pushed can blow up, but if they're handled quietly, you can keep the fuse from being lit. So that comes down to how we're going to gather those cattle, and for God's sakes, keep rider safety as a primary issue. But I think, as I've looked at this, there's 2 or 3 things in here. I wanted you to know this doesn't tie to the cattle guard per se, but I wanted you folks to know what we have been doing since you went out in the hall. I don't know. It's always hard to follow the rights, make the right decisions for everybody's property rights. It's a challenge. And I think sometimes it has to be a give and take to make it work. If you want to make it work, it'll work. If you don't want to make it work, you have some monkey wrenches in it. As some folks do with the decisions we make and say, well, it won't work and this is why. I would hope that, I guess maybe some of the thoughts that I have, and this is relating to the cattle guards. We basically, I think, had well, at least, and I'm paraphrasing here, Mike, I'm not quoting you, but a tentative agreement between Mr. Halpin and the board that he would not have a problem with the 2 cattle dogs being installed if that fence was maintained between the new east cattle guard to his property, which I understand is what, maybe 900 feet, 1,000 feet. How far is that? You got an idea between you guys?
That's probably.
That's in the ballpark, I think. That ends up being 2 things that it's kind of like having to, split it in half, and neither one's happy because they didn't get a hole. But my thoughts are if we did something like that with the fence, and would be maintained by Dr. Hamilton, he gets the cattle guards. It opens up the access for his rotation grazing. And then looking at the map over there, just a second, and looking at his pastures, that's a reasonable request. I don't see where the cattle guards are going to make much of a difference because part of that fence was burned out and part of it wasn't in real good shape anyway. Those being internal fences, other than requiring the fencing of the right-of-way. If we require the right-of-way be fenced and deny the cattle guards, we are denying him use under a rotation grazing system, which is an acceptable livestock use of rotating pastures, grazing them different times of the year, not overgrazing them, letting them have rest. I don't know what the grazing plan is that Dr. Hamlin is utilizing, but that is from an accepted animals practice, opening up your range where you don't have the concentration and can move across a larger section. I don't know what condition of water is on either side, but you do try to disperse livestock. That's a basic range management practice. On the other side, from the animal science side of it, from the animal side, the cattle have to be controlled. They have to be kept within their boundaries. And I think this is an issue that comes down to neighbors, comes down to individuals. That's just like, I think maybe there's a I don't know, quotation someplace about cutting a baby in half, but this I think though offers us an opportunity perhaps if that fence were put back up. In reality, I don't see it having any impact because unless Dr. Hamilton maintained that interior fence, they can still get right next to the property and get through the fence.
Right.
So it comes down, one of the things that I look at and I laugh until I got in this position. Have you seen a bridge in Alaska that spent several $1 million and it doesn't go anywhere? Well, that's kind of like this fence. The fence will come up here, but in reality, as it ties into the adjacent fences, all it does is keeps that roadway open and keeps that access somewhat partitioned. That's my thoughts. I'm open now to whatever you folks would like to say or do. What are your next thoughts?
Can I clarify something for some of the folks in the audience?
Sure, please go.
Well, I don't think they were aware that when Dr. Hamilton made his request, he was agreeing to pay for the installation of the cattle guards. There was some talk about, why should the county incur that expense? And the presentation was if the county agreed, he would pay everything and build them to county standards. There's one other issue here, and because basically I think the commissioners have two options, if I can sort of summarize. One is to do nothing, just leave the situation the way it is now. Or the other is to allow Dr. Hamilton to install the cattle guards on the condition that he agree to fence that section that has historically been fenced. And the other one, there's the width of that easement would be the easternmost cattle guard to the Halpin's property. That the width of that easement's never been defined, but the area between the two cattle guards is a 45-foot wide easement that was actually deeded to the county a number of years ago by, I think her name was Eileen Copper, who owned that piece of land before Dr. Hamilton acquired it. So the county has a 45-foot wide easement between the two areas where Dr. Hamilton has requested the cattle guards. And my recommendation to the commissioners is that it would be appropriate to declare the easement the rest of the way from the easternmost cattle guard to the Halpin's property to also be a 45-foot wide easement, which would have to flare out to 60 feet at each of the cattle guards so that gates would be installed immediately adjacent to the cattle guards. All of this was actually submitted in writing some time ago and was essentially, other than the fencing, but I mean as far as the gates and everything, I think Dr. Hamilton was agreeing to that. So I think the issue more than anything now is about whether the fencing should be put back up or a new fencing should be installed along that strip of land where the fencing was recently removed. That's sort of a summary. That's one option. The other option is for the commissioners to say, we're not going to do anything. We're going to deny the request for the cattle guards, and everything else will have to be sorted out on a private basis, if that's a correct statement. I mean, I think that's where they're at, and they want input from you folks on what you think about that.
Normally, according to Robert Rules and Order, the way things work in a motion was that, when you make and second a motion, you have discussions. It's limited to those voting members. But before we go to that point, I would like to see what you folks would offer. And please, I ask that we be polite, because this is being recorded, but I would like to certainly hear your responses to these two suggestions that we have. What do you think?
Okay. You've opened a big box of worms. Because now if you allow this to happen here, then it's somebody else is going to do it, and again and again and again, in other places in the county and other county roads.
We have
So you've opened the bag.
I understand what if I may respond.
Yes, please.
You folks, this area has historically been cattle country. And we put in cattle guards because it saves us maintaining lots of miles of fence. It also improves the utilization of a pasture that's cut by a road. Whether it's the use of a cattle guard is something that I think we've historically utilized. As we get into small acreages, we have a lot more people involved in a small area, which is what we have in this case. But actually, in terms of the cattle guard, the only person that cattle guard is really impacting, per se, directly, will be Mr. Halpin, because he's the one that travels that road every day. It is a county road, so people can go up and down it. But if you go out here, we do have we have roads that have cattle guards in them, and quite frankly, it's much cheaper to maintain a cattle guard than it is to maintain the fence on two sides.
Okay.
We have people that have different ownerships, then you maintain the fence because you don't want them in the middle of the road.
But if we're going to do this, can we unbury the cattle guard on 391?
I don't see that as being tied to this, but I certainly have no problem with that. My first question is, who told them they could fill it in?
I did.
And by what authority did you do that? Because that's a county road.
Good point.
Well, I'm not criticizing it, I'm just saying that, to me, I think they ought to be cleaned out, and I think cattle guards are there, and they need to be cleaned out and maintained. If a cattle guard is full of dirt, it doesn't do anybody any good. And if you would like to have those cattle guards, I'm gonna just speak for me, but as one person, one of the three, I see nothing wrong with us going in and putting those two cattle guards.
There's actually two involved there.
Yeah, and putting those two cattle guards back into working condition.
It's beyond the scope of the question.
Pardon me?
I think that's really beyond the scope of what's on the table.
No, but in the general discussion of cattle guards, I think it fits.
Well, it's helpful for if his cows get out or his bulls or whatever again and manage to come down through this way, that it actually seals off my land and their land from that. So
Not 100%.
We would be happy. I
because
mean,
there's other
I think as good stewardship, I think the county needs to clean those and put them back in condition for you.
okay.
Well,
What do you think? That
okay. A cattle guard is to stop the cattle from going past it, right? It's gonna let the cattle go across the road and into another pasture.
right?
If there's nothing in that pasture to stop the cattle from going out of that pasture, they're gonna be down my road.
But there's nothing that
That fence that they're going to, the property that they're gonna be crossing over to, that fencing there is an issue.
well, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, we have no authority over
It's
a
not my
person's.
fence. I'm not bound to that property.
No, but what I'm saying,
I'm bound to that,
Can we
what you're
ask-
but
deciding.
as commissioners, we don't have
For Mr.
the
Hamilton,
right
can
to
you
say
get
you
that
gotta
fence
do
there?
this on your private property, the fence line. Okay?
Gentlemen, address the board. One
Wait,
conversation.
please
Hold
address
on,
the board.
hold on. Donna?
I just wanted to make, because I know there was a conversation and I
Yes.
couldn't hear what was being said. Could you restate what you just asked, please?
I just asked the people that are representing Dr. Hamilton if we can get that fence fixed. Because there just, to me, there's no rhyme or reason to not have it fixed.
I agree with you. When I made the earlier statement that I reached out to Mr. Halpin's attorney was to talk about the fencing issue, not on the road, on the boundaries. And apparently he was trying to get permission to speak with me, and I haven't heard back from him. But what I wanted to do is chat with the attorney and Mr. Halpin about the common fence line and then getting that put back in place to the quality that everybody's acceptable to. We've not had that conversation yet.
And historically,
And I think that's I think that's a big factor in addressing Mr. Hamilton's responsibility for fencing his livestock in, which to me is separate from the cattle guards. It's unfortunate everything's happened when it happened, but it did.
that's,
And,
we can't change that.
can't change that.
We gotta fix it.
Can't change that. Gary's been gracious enough. He's going to go down and grab the bulls hopefully today, and we'll get them corralled, on Dr. Hamilton's property and get them tested like you requested. But there's a lot of fencing that got damaged from the fire that needs to be talked about. That's all, and it needs to be done.
And historically,
All I know is Mr. Hamilton, other ranches, when you talk about his fencing, he's got miles and miles of fencing, and he does a great job with that. When it comes to this boundary between him and Mr. Halpin and some other areas, it needs attention.
well, and historically on boundary fence, it's 50-50 share. And Gary, you may remember this, but you look at the fence, traditionally what's on the right-hand side is your fence on your property. So if I'm looking to the south, the fence that goes west is mine. If I'm on the other side of the fence and I'm looking to the north, the fence that goes east is where the middle point is. Yes, Mike?
Well, I just have a comment to get this back on point. The whole issue that involved the county is the road. Now, we had a hearing in 2006 where the judge said, based on evidence presented to her by the county, that that's a county road. The appellate court said it's a county road. one of the issues that happen is Custer County does not describe the width of their easements along their road, which poses a problem, not just on that road, but all of them. So if somebody's interfering with your right-of-way on your easement, it's very vague for the county to determine where does the line start and end. Can we take this embankment out to improve drainage? You don't know. Custer County doesn't know because they don't describe that. Most counties have a described width of their easements. I think working towards that in the future might help prevent some of these problems. The problem arises when you have a landowner that wants to take every single inch right up to the edge of the dirt on the road because that's my property. And it interferes with the road and the maintenance. Now, there's been a lot of money spent on this whole issue, but I will never forget in district court when the judge looked right at me and my wife and said, any issues on this road are between Robert Hamilton and the county. We have no standing on it. So to say that we don't get along because of the road is not the issue. So I think it would be prudent, especially in this short section of road with all the dollars that have been spent, for you to identify how wide is your easement through there. And I think
Another part of the same discussion was a 45-foot easement, Mike.
But I think that would help move this whole thing forward so it's done.
Another part of our discussion was a 45-foot easement to your property.
Well,
Clint stated that going into a 60-foot.
Around the cattle guard.
Right, since it's 45 feet across what used to be the copper parcel, it would make sense to keep it 45 feet all the way to your property. At least that was my feeling.
I think it would be prudent for the county and the road people, and it's just smart road management.
And the road is a county road and will be maintained to your driveway to your satisfaction.
Well, I'm no different than any other citizen.
No, but what I'm saying, I look at it that if you want to plow yourself out, you can, but it will be part of our county system.
If you want to maintain it, I'm not going to stop you, but I've been doing it for 32 years. So you're welcome.
Well, right's right. But, okay, what else? Clint, do we want to put a specific motion on right now, or do we want to see if we can get those two to agree to this first to you? What do you want to do? What would you recommend?
Well, my recommendation, to avoid the possibility of any further litigation that would drag the county into it, would be to see if there could be an agreement along the lines that the cattle guards can be installed at Dr. Hamilton's expense, where he's already indicated that he would agree that the easement would be 45 feet in width from 22 and a half feet either side of the center line of the existing road from the eastern cattle guard all the way to the Helpins property. And the final issue would be fencing along that road, which was historically fenced. And if there could be an agreement with Dr. Hamilton and the Helpins on that, then the county is not facing any possible litigation. The other alternative is for the county to say, we're not going to do anything, we're not going to approve the cattle guards, we're not going to do anything on this, but I would hope that we could come up with a resolution that would satisfy the affected parties. And if that's something that, if we gave them a week or two, I mean, Mr. Boyd wanted to talk to Mr. Halpin's attorney about this, and he obviously would have to talk to his client about it, but if we could put this off for a little while before the county decides to take action to see if there could be an agreement along those lines, then the possibility of future litigation would be eliminated, in my opinion. At least as far as the county is concerned.
Could we ask for feedback after conversations happen with both Mr. Halpin and yourself, and also Dr. Hamilton, with what we've been discussing?
Be happy to do that.
We gotta make it happen. I mean, can you help us there, Mike?
I'll give you my position right now. I'm good with either one of those proposals. I would prefer do nothing, manage your pasture with fences and gates like all the other ranchers in the county. But if the cattle guards go in and the rest of it is fenced, the remainder of the road is fenced. And the problem is that the board needs to be able to, I think, is to decide what width are they going to use, so you've got some boundaries to work with, and then it's clear.
Do you think there would be a possibility you could visit maybe within the next week or so, have some ideas?
Certainly.
There's
nothing to prohibit.
I don't want to push you guys, but we've been fiddling this thing for a long time. In January we addressed it. I'd hoped to have it done in January. I'd hoped to have it done in February. And now we're July, and we need to get it off the docket. We need to yay or nay and go forward.
Can I ask Mike a question?
Sure.
On that southern boundary of your property and Mr. Hamilton's northern boundary, that fence line that heads to the west, that needs to be repaired, correct?
It's, on my section, it held cows all winter, but as it leaves my property and heads down towards the Martins, that fence is in disrepair.
I would ask maybe that you two get together if you got some questions. We got a long agenda still to go, folks, and
That's fine.
it's new.
Appreciate your time.
Does anyone else have a question? Do you see what we're trying to do? I guess it would be fair to say we're on the horns of a dilemma, and it's a longhorn. Okay.
When could we expect something back? Do you have any idea? I mean, we have another meeting in, 2 weeks? And then we have one at the end of the month? Is 2 weeks enough, or should we put it back on the agenda for July 31st?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I understand that.
My position's done.
You already told us you were okay either way. I'm really asking Dr. Hamilton's side. And I understand you need to talk to Dr. Hamilton and get legal
I need
advice.
to talk to Dr. Hamilton, and I'd like to meet with Mike and or his attorney and have a conversation. I've got some questions I need to understand better.
Okay. I would just make the statement, if I can, Mr. Chairman, that if an agreement can be reached, it's going to need to be in writing, signed by the parties. There's not going to be a verbal handshake. I don't want to address this again in a year. And I would like this to end. If not, my opinion's going to be just don't do anything. My whole opinion is I don't want this county another lawsuit. So if there's an agreement between a meeting of the minds, let's get on with that. If not, I want the county out of it.
Do we need somebody to facilitate that?
I think they should.
Pardon me?
I think they should. They want an agreement. They need to come to us. I mean, that's what I think with an agreement. We have a signed agreement saying we are willing to do X, Y, and Z, or not. And we say fine and move forward.
Okay. We'll do, if you guys can work with that, and we'll address this in our next meeting and what more. Or in San Isabel.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
If the fences aren't fixed, you'll see us back again.
If the fences aren't, you mean
The fences that are going to that property,
the boundary fences?
they do not touch my property, but they allow the cattle to go through. If those fences aren't fixed, you're going to see us back.
Wonderful. I mean, we need to get those fences.
Show me on the map where that is.
Yeah, right there in that corner.
So anyway, let's move on if we can, folks. Can you maybe, when do you call that, a sidebar?
Right there, Gary. That's it.
Why don't you get together and visit and see what fences, maybe you guys can offer some additional thoughts. Okay. Donna, we had another item under old business regarding the SIPA grant.
Yes, I actually heard from Beth on Friday. Let me just pull the information.
Thank you, everybody. I guess.
Okay. She left a voicemail, but she also sent me an email stating that SIPA decided to give Custer County a $3,000 micro grant to assist in the implement of video streaming, archiving, and agenda management with Open Media Foundation, otherwise known as OMF. A representative from OMF will be contacting us to work out the proposal details in the near future. She followed up with an award letter and will mail a check within the next 30 days. And that Beth plans to stay connected to see how the project is going. So I know that Donna Hobby is on our docket later, but she emailed me a W-9 that needs to be completed. And also, the grant eligibility confirmation needs to be signed by us and return it to them as soon as possible. So, whoever you want.
Do we need a motion to approve
Well,
this?
we already,
Well, I did,
that's
didn't
on,
we?
yeah, but this is the follow-up to her, so it's just the
We
follow-up.
got $3,000. That's
Yeah.
more than we had.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
I'd like to ask a question on that, if I may. This is tied in with streaming of the internet.
The video streaming
So we
of our
really-
BOCC meetings.
Yeah, I understand that. But what I'm concerned about is we have the amount of bandwidth coming through here. Do we have to upgrade that to take advantage of this?
No.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Yep.
Good job to them. I hope they get a nice thank you note.
Thank you.
Let's see, Gary isn't here. How about landfill? Sitting back there smiling, got your feet propped up.
I'm here.
Oh, well. Welcome.
Morning.
Rusty.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Or afternoon. Claire.
Okay. We do have some reports here.
I had to get my report in a little early, so I didn't have time to finish June. So I waited and finished June and got these reports for the first half of the year. 2016 and 2017 are on there. And there's a difference of $12,628 more than last year.
Are
So far
expenses
this year.
similar? Are expenses similar? Or is this profit, like a profit and loss?
Yeah, that's the first half of the year for 2016 and 2017.
And it shows the income.
It's right.
And our expenses have been about the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good job.
So it's been busy.
What were the hours and how did the scraper work out for opening that pit?
Really well. Real well.
What percent is open? Or are you?
400 feet. So that's a third of the pit.
And that costs us how much? 80,000?
18. We usually get it for 18,000 a month, which is a pretty good deal. It's a big
Yeah,
break
we got-
because they usually charge 23 or 24, I think. So 18's a good
And did
deal.
you use it the whole month or did Road and Bridge use it a week?
Well, I used it for the whole month, and then they used it for a week or two, whatever
Okay,
it
well,
was.
find out. Okay. I see that we've got some landfill crisis here. And I was out of town when you had the discussion on landfill. Maybe one of you can bring me up to date on the thoughts of this and where we're going and so forth.
Aren't you still trying to follow up on when that well would be dug?
Yeah, and they haven't gotten back to us yet on that, so we don't know.
But they're paying for the well.
Right. Yeah, they will do that. Whether it's going to be one or two, however many they decide to drill out there, we just don't know yet. I'm hoping just one because it's too expensive to monitor these groundwater wells. It's really expensive. And we have to pay for all that.
Tell me about baseline hearing for all employees. What does that refer to? I see it on your...
When we were doing MSHA, they came up with that every year that every county should actually have baseline hearing tests for the employees. And there's companies that come around and just test hearing for all employees to see how everybody's doing.
Just something.
And I could use it.
Is this something a public health nurse can do?
I don't know, maybe.
Jay and I both took a hearing test and we both failed.
Got mine in right now. I live with them.
That's next for me.
Well, we were looking at income as a reason of expecting, discussing the landfill fees. What was our?
Just to see where we were with everybody else close to us, and should we be analyzing what we're charging long term?
I think that was the appropriate question on the table, in my opinion, is where do our landfill fees, how do they relate with other counties our size or our neighbors, and are we too high, too low, are we just right? And it was just a question of, I felt it was appropriate for us to take a look at where we stand on our fees. And I asked Rusty if he would look at that, which he most certainly did, and I appreciate that significantly. I reviewed what you looked at, although it's a little hard for me to analyze because some of them, the prices are in cubic yards, some are in ton. Right. And I recognize, to me, I'm not sure I really understand what that is, so I'll just ask you, are our fees in line with the people around, the counties around us? Are we too high, too low?
We're a little cheaper than most landfills.
Significantly or not very? I mean, if it's significant, are you thinking maybe we ought to think about an adjustment? Or if we're just slightly less, then it's not an issue to me? I mean,
I think that we can... if we think about this, we've made 12,000 more this year than we did last year already. Mm-hmm. So we could probably let this go till the first of the year and decide what we want to do. Since it's already, July, we can come up with a plan and maybe
do a little
make an adjustment maybe by January.
Where I am right now, I'm opposed to it. And the reason I am is the landfill isn't costing us very much to operate. Number two, we have a reasonably clean county. And I'm afraid if we were to markedly increase these fees, as we've seen happen in places in the San Luis Valley, the amount of dumping, legal dumping, increases. So, what are you showing? What?
This is what was left at our gate this morning when we got to work. Mm-hmm. Refrigerator, hot water heater, couches, chairs.
With no name attached.
But what does that have to do with landfill costs?
I don't want to see that happen. If we happen to raise the fees, I'd hate to see this happen all the time.
So what do you do with that right now? What's that costing us?
$65 probably is what that would have been.
Illegal.
But if we raise the fees, we're probably going to see more of that.
And we don't even take refrigerators. Now we have to figure out how to get rid of it.
That's why. See, you can't get rid of a refrigerator because all the gas has to be removed by a licensed technician. Right?
Right.
So based on your recommendation, which I think is certainly, we're not totally out of line, where we need to do some immediately. I'm just trying to summarize what you said. If I say it wrong, just correct me. Maybe we ought to revisit it again towards the first of the year and decide if it's something should be considered. I fully agree with what you're saying, Bob. So that's great. And this is where this is what I asked you to do. I appreciate you doing it. We get to feel that we're not totally out of line. Mm-hmm. I'm good with let's wait and see.
Okay.
You made it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to go a step further. I would like a record of how many times you're getting dumped like that. And what that's costing us. Okay? Over the next 6 months, I'd like to see.
Okay. Yeah, because this is the first time this has happened.
Okay.
Oh, it is?
We've had bags left at the gate before, and maybe somebody will leave $2 or $3 taped to a bag or something, you know, and that's happened before. This is the first time since I've been there, since, you know, anything like this has ever happened.
So let me ask a question. I asked this question a few months ago, and the answer was no. But the question was, we don't have. The question was, do we have cameras? Because I'm concerned about that, and I was concerned about that before, and we don't. Do you feel it makes sense to put in some kind of camera so that if someone does that, we can get the car, license plate, something, so that...
I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
But if you put a camera in, then they're not going to leave it there, they're going to leave it somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's a non-issue, I think. I mean, this is the first time we've had it happen. And
to this extent, for sure.
I mean, but until we have landfills that are open 60 hours a week or 50 hours, 55 hours a week, we're going to have some kind of dumping. And this was because it was over holiday weekend.
Yeah. I guess, yeah. Are you going to attend the workshop on Friday, Rusty?
In county budgets.
Oh, right. Right.
Are you coming to
Glad
that?
you reminded me that. Yeah. I'll
10 o'clock, because
yeah.
that'll be an eye-opener too. So hopefully it'll help.
It is.
I believe I'm correct in saying this. We made 18,000 profit last year, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're making, if we're breaking even for service to the county, until we have long-term needs, until we figure out, I agree. Let's wait and look at this. And
I agree to wait. I just want us to keep in the back of our minds that we're going to have to do some long-term planning, and that means some income being put aside for long-term planning. So I am open to the idea of waiting, but let's see what we may have to do budget-wise.
Thanks for doing this.
Right. If we could actually do that, if you did raise the fees in January, you could take the money that you raise and put into a fund for the landfill to get things accomplished in the future. So that's things that we can definitely talk about.
at the same time, we may look at just putting in a collection site out there.
Sure.
That doesn't take a lot of money to put that in. Yes, ma'am.
May I ask a question? The 18,000 that, or whatever it was that was made last year, what happens to that? Does that
Goes
not?
into the general fund like the other income that the county does. And then it's part of the next budget, the spending for the next budget cycle.
Just like the sheriff's tickets.
It doesn't just go back to them or to whoever. It goes into our general fund.
Okay.
The 18,000 is what it cost Custer County to have a landfill last year.
Well, it cost us 18,000.
Gotcha.
But we were 100,000.
That was a total.
But before we were like almost 100,000.
Gotcha. Right.
So we almost broke it even. And this year, where we're above on income,
Gotcha.
we may break it even.
Okay.
But the budget we appropriate for the county is about 100, I think 100 and
180 right
180,
now.
200,000, it's close in there. Okay. Anything else on
Yeah,
landfill?
my landfill pickup, they're all,
It's on here. Yeah.
it's down at the shop right now, and we're having a hard time keeping that pickup running.
It's going to cost $18,000 to replace it.
I don't know what we could get one for. I have 14,000 in the budget for an engine for the compactor, which the mechanics figure that it'd be fine this year. So if we use that 14,000 that's in the budget to get a pickup, then they think that that's the right way to do that.
What do you think?
And how many miles do we put on this?
The pickup?
The 3/4 ton pickup to haul paper and magazine recycling.
Well, it has
just like-
219,000.
No, I'm not talking about it, but I thought we were having the paper, not just the cardboard they haul out, isn't it, on the semis?
No, we don't haul the cardboard. We haul that little trailer that people recycle magazines and
Yeah,
paper.
but I'm saying that what we have, the cardboard, we load onto a semi and that goes
Right,
out.
right.
And this is the paper and the magazines that we put in a small trailer, and we go to Salida with it.
Right.
And how often do we make this trip?
Oh, every 2.5 months.
So we're talking about 5 trips a year.
And the aluminum, we haul to Pueblo.
And how many trips on that probably? 3 or 4 times a year?
Yeah, you know, say 4,
4, okay.
depending on how much people really want to recycle their aluminum. And then, of course, the running around that we do here in town, but
So what would be
it's
the
just been a need for quite a while.
the pickup you're saying?
Right.
So, I mean, obviously you're saying you've got 14 grand for this compactor engine. So what happens if that blows?
We just have to dig into reserves and fix it.
Then we're in trouble. Because you got to have the compactor.
You have to
running.
have the compactor. So really, you're looking.
See, the only thing we could do if the compactor did go down, we have a dozer out there that you can run over the trash and spread it around. It just doesn't compact. It just rides on top of the trash. It doesn't compact it in. So, but we do have that.
So can I ask, in prioritizing the truck you need right now, the compactor rebuild you may or may not need in the near future, did I understand that correctly?
Right.
Okay, and is that your recommendation that we use the money that we had set aside for compactor to take care of the immediate need, and hopefully we won't have a disaster with the compactor?
I think so.
So
it's running really good right now, and Chris did a lot of work to it. Chris helping the mechanic, he did a lot of work to it, so it's running really well. It's just they're afraid the hours that it has, and it's time. And I agree with him, it is time before something, you don't want it out there blowing up on you.
Got it.
So have you looked at a new pickup? Have you went shopping yet to look at anything?
No. I was gonna trade that pickup a couple of years ago when I was at Road and Bridge, but I liked it so well I just never did. So everybody gave me a bad time about driving it around.
Well, I don't know if we did a motion for this, but I certainly feel Rusty's recommendation certainly makes sense to me. Take care of the immediate need first, and I don't have a problem with this.
I would like to address it if I may. First of all, I think we need to look at what's in our fleet. This again is another one-shot fix for one place, but I think we need to sit down and look what we have in Road and Bridge. Let's look what we have in the sheriff's department. I know we've had a need for a truck for the coroner, and I'm not sure what they're going to do there. I think we need to look at, because these are all basically, we don't have a motor pool per se, but they are basically a motor pool issue. And until, I think we need to find out what we do for a truck for you. I agree. And I think we need to find out what else we have and what our needs are, and then see how we can juggle those around and see, because we have to get you transportation to get around out there. But the truck is not running at all now, or
No, it's down in the shop.
So do you need a bicycle in the meantime?
I've been using my personal vehicle for a few days.
If you use your personal vehicle, I think it's appropriate for you to turn your mileage on it. Don't you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
So are you going to facilitate a meeting then to look at the fleet?
I think we have to pull together at least the 3 entities and say, well, we know what we need. He needs a truck. He hasn't got anything to give. He needs a truck. For 14 grand, you're not going to get a whole lot unless it'll be 10 years old or older. It'll be, again, may work just fine down the road.
Yeah, all I need is something roadworthy. I don't care what it looks like.
But I think that I would feel much better in looking, maybe pulling in a workshop with the Road and Bridge and Sheriff's Department, and look at what we have and say, okay, this is what we're going to do. Well, we're all Peter and pay Paul, but we got to get you mobility. I'll see if I can get that set up next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Make sense?
Sure.
But you're okay with using your personal
hopefully they wire that pickup together so I
Okay.
can drive it around. We'll see.
Okay.
Anything else?
I don't think so. I think that'll do it.
Well, we have our nurse here.
Am I next or Cindy next?
I got a question for you.
Oh, okay.
No, actually, HR Finance is next.
Do you do any kind of hearing testing?
We don't have that little machine that does that.
Okay. Because we have to get baseline hearing tests for our landfill employees. Answer that question.
I can look into getting it, just borrowing it, like from Fremont County.
Let's see. Okay, good. All right, anything else?
I don't think so. I think that's it.
So, before he's dismissed, so if she can't get it, when do you normally do your baseline hearing test?
We haven't.
You haven't done it before, ever?
No, you get a hearing test when you go in for your CDL physicals. It's every 2 years, so.
And that, I don't see why that shouldn't be sufficient.
They say that you're supposed to get hearing tests for employees every year.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So that's on your to-do list.
That should probably be a personnel issue.
To work out with Donna.
Okay. Anything else on this?
Good.
You?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
You bet.
Now, are you at full staff out there now?
Yeah. Yeah, we're in good shape.
See you next time.
Thank you for everything you're doing.
Uh-huh.
You're welcome.
Oh, I think if it's all right, I'd like to go ahead and go to OEM and public health. These others are in finance. Gary's not here. Finance is in-house and BSO is,
He was here.
I guess Tim left.
You guys can arm wrestle.
Pardon me?
No, I said.
Oh, I'd be happy to go next.
Oh, yeah. She's next.
Let's
on
go. You're next, lady.
Good morning, dear.
Good morning.
Hi. So this is a road and bridge one, the one that I had for you this morning. He messed up the programming instead of search and rescue. No, he had sheriff's office on the SAR channel. So, do you have a charge? I think you, that was my question.
I don't think I do.
Okay, then I need to bring you a charger back.
Thank you.
A little different on the scan button. I can show you that when you're done. Okay.
Okay.
Well, beyond my report.
I love your shirt.
Thank you.
One team, one family. How
And
nice is that?
we'll lead in with Public Safety Day is scheduled.
Oh, I got one on my store.
Do you? And we've also, I'm going to let you share
Oops.
those if you don't mind, or give me them.
I've read that already.
I'll end up giving one to. We've added another, Public Safety Day is the 5th. We had a planning meeting last week on that. Molly's kind of coordinating that. It's going to be at the EMS barn on the 5th, and we're going to have the search and rescue building and open house over there as well. And Wet Mountain Fire is going to put on a vehicle extrication, and we're going to stage it as long as nothing happens with Flight for Life to shut them down. We'll actually extricate and transfer to Flight for Life and have a tour of Flight for Life and some things like that and do a sort of a demonstration. So it won't be a full-on training, but it'll be a little bit of one. I know there's somebody out in Rosita they're going to get the vehicle from. And there should be a lot of things going on out there that day. And then Greg Goodland has added the day after that, another / collection day at Venable Comanche. We had our first cooperators meeting on the CWPP over there, and then Chief Tonsing and I went last Sunday up to the annual HOA meeting for Tanglewood and talked to them as well. So a lot of things happening on the weekends. Well, those I think are kind of exciting. You just got the one. Clint will give you that one when he's all done.
You heard any more about feedback on the exercise? Public health exercise?
No, that's
I don't want to steal your thunder. It's her thunder.
It's not my
Let's just do it.
thunder. It's her thunder. I'll steal a little bit of Chuck's thunder, though, and you'll probably hear this tomorrow, but the Southern RETAC grants, the preliminary grant awards came through. Search and Rescue applied for a 50% grant on a $48,000 vehicle, and they're getting it. And EMS applied for 2 different 90% grants where they had to go up to Denver. One's an ambulance, and I'm not sure if it's a complete new ambulance or re-outfitting one, but it's about a $84,000 grant they're getting 90% of. And then they're getting another one in about the same ballpark that's 90%. I've got the numbers and I jotted them down.
Good.
But Chuck will probably be bringing those to the table with his budget on the small grant tomorrow. So got some money there. And I went out and met with Coco and Cusp on the burn scar just briefly last week. I shot out there Thursday afternoon. They had just had a tour bus that had housed 70 volunteers that have been working there 3 days. They got about 5 acres reseeded on our side, on the South Hardscrabble side of 387, and then they put in about 130 log erosion barriers too. And then they were down working on some weeding on Donnelly's property. So everything that's happening down there is happening because of our volunteer organizations active in disaster, not because the state or anybody else is shaking any funding loose.
And I visited with Kathy, and we are asking the senator to follow up on DC as we were talking about on our tour.
Okay. Tomorrow's the South Region meeting in Walsenburg, and then it was supposed to be in Custer County, but we swapped because they've moved the next recovery meeting to August 2nd. And I did talk to, I'm drawing a blank on her name, the librarian down in Wetmore, Nan?
Oh, Nan.
Nan. I talked to Nan about holding our South Region meeting and our recovery meeting there in August, and she said she needed to she pretty much booked us there in the basement, but she said she needed to discuss with you what your building use guidelines were going to be, but we'll do the smaller South Region meeting there.
Okay.
And then that afternoon we'll do the big recovery meeting, similar to the one you went to in Pueblo.
Okay.
Not much is happening at the recovery meeting, so it's more of going through the motions, a little frustrating for me. But I think it's August 2nd is when I asked Nan to book that. And August 3rd, Thursday.
Odola turned us down, or we canceled?
We canceled because we don't have anything really to go for with, a 50% match. I can't go for, there's not a lot we can do. If we find a specific project, then we can go back. So it's just sort of a tabled project. I basically canceled that request for the alert notification.
I've not heard anything more on they were talking about some federal money from the NRCS.
Mm-hmm.
I've not heard anything.
Yeah, I haven't either, and Rick Romano had called the regional office, and they had heard of nothing either. And then at the June South Region meeting, Maryland had come down and made a soft verbal commitment for $250,000 from the state for all 3 burns. And if anything, I've heard rumors both ways that Pueblo's going to get their 167 or whatever for the sirens, and the rest will go to another project. And then I've heard some talk of splitting it between the 3 counties. But if alert and notification is the priority, there's not a lot we can do with any of that funding. The staffing position would be the bigger need, and I did express that in an email to Steve, Michael Schaub's boss, that if we do get the 319 grant, which Alyssa and I got some emails and a little bit of feedback on that today, if we get that, we're really not in the capacity to manage that $300,000 grant with staffing, so it would come back to that recovery specialist would really, and I've expressed that to the state, what we really need is somebody to support us like Coco, if that grant were to come through, because it's a big project down there with those foundations. And so I don't know, just that one's state too, and it sounded like Tamara didn't know really where their federal funding was. And then the EMPG grant is not on this report, but it's about time of year that the EMPG grant is funded, and we asked for more this year. I think we were eligible for about $43,000, and I'm not sure if it's going to come in at the 30 or where it's going to come in, but that should be coming in, I would say, in the next week or two. and they will mail us a hard copy, probably like 2 or 3 originals. And typically the chairman of the board just signs that because you guys already approved the grant application. So when that comes in, I'll run that to Bob for signature, get all the originals back to the state. We're halfway
When
through
is
the
that?
year.
When is it?
Last year it came in like June 23rd, and the year before it came in July 3rd or somewhere. So right around now, and I asked Christy Coleman in an email Monday, and she said she knows it's been approved and it should start trickling down soon. So I'm expecting it anytime.
How's Meredith working out?
She's working out great. She really helped with the public health exercise. She helped, we got some of the EOC props done. She's been working on the EOP, reformatting it, and we've worked out some new org charts structure, ICS structure that we actually implemented during the public health. So I'm really enjoying having her. And
Now, don't everybody get excited. It's just making a comment. And I think if we look where we're going with the OEM, and the workload that we have over there, we're not too far off from having to take a serious look at least part-time or additional help over there.
Same with IT.
Because we're just going up.
And I apologize that I'm going to miss the budget
I'm going to get a
deal, but there is, and Dave Townsend and I were visiting about this too, there's some grants available, and if we tied some of this fire stuff, because Chuck ends up helping us an awful lot on the emergency management side, I think there could be some potential funding. So again, having a body to help look for that or see what other people are doing, but I think Los Angeles County and Wharf-Neuf County go after some of this grant funding, and then the other 3 counties in the region, Pueblo, Fremont, and Custer, have never gotten any. And so it's one, I saw the deadline like 10 days before this year, but I learned about it at the Wildland Fire Conference. And that's another opportunity at the open house. Jim Little talked to Jay and Shannon and I about some potential El Pomar funding, and so I followed up with that. I met with him on that, and if I can't get something on the mitigation side to help Middle Arkansas Wildfire Prevention Partnership, then I've already talked to him about Plan B is some wildland.
Talk to who?
To Jim Little, and I've sent him an email, and he's sending it on to the gal in charge of that wildland firefighting fund. But I would say the higher likelihood is it's going to come back with some PPE for on the wildland fire gear for Wetmore Fire Department. So I've talked to Ruth, and she's talked to Bill about that. And it seemed like there was another one. Pam from the CMAT team, the federal CMAT team, she may have a few, like maybe up to 30K kicking around. And so I've reached out to her. But Dennis Page and Pam and I have been chatting, and I know Paul's in the loop, and so it would come back to mitigation. So there's a potential there, and I'm kind of kicking that can down the road like all these other ones to see where it goes.
Well, we're talking about mitigation. I think I'm correct on this, isn't this the mitigation up here all on private lands? The big grant that you're working with? The
Community Wildfire
Yes.
Protection Plan up there is, well, it has stakeholders on the public side, but the PILT funding can be used to develop the plan and then to mitigate within 100 or 200 feet of the structure. So any of those projects any of the projects on our side would be on the private lands, but that's not to say that the Forest Service can't add their own projects.
No, but where I'm going with this, one of the topics that come out of Jay's building code meeting, that was right, wasn't it? Was that people thought, well, we need to have mitigation. Well, we need to expand that. I don't know, we'd be thinking about what might make sense from the standpoint of a planning and zoning requirement of mitigation. I don't know what would, if it even makes any sense, but some of the people expressed a desire and an interest, and I think we need to continue to.
Have any of you watched that 60 Minutes video yet? The county in California that's basically set in, they had a requirement in that county that you will mitigate to X, within 100 or 200 feet. I think it was 100 feet. And they show homes that burned down that didn't meet it. And they didn't, it was kind of, it wasn't enforceable, but it's...
Funny you bring that up. I had a mitigation team come out to my house just within the last 2 or 3 weeks. And the one tree I was concerned about, which is fairly close, I said, dude, didn't say exactly those words, but basically it was, dude, you can take that tree down, but if there's a wildfire coming through, you need a huge open space for it not, because of the ash and the...
Yeah. It's really the ember storm, and that's what's really neat about this 13-minute video. So one of the things we're going to do on Safety Day is Shannon's going to do some videos with stun guns, and we're going to set up in the bay on the projector screens, videos that show every hour. So like the top of every hour, I'm going to show this 13-minute video, and then Shannon's going to show some. Cool. But it gets into that ember storm, and that's that hardening your home part. And you look at Bill Donnelly's barn, it's those little gaps, those little vents or encroachments or a little pile of debris. If it's the Junkins fire and it's going 70 miles an hour, it's going to be hit and miss, and it's just is what it is. But if it's a nice fire that comes through, or like fire, people are really afraid of fire, and it's.
Well, if we look at that video that Colorado Springs Fire Department has. I mean, the fire was a ground fire. It was spreading, but where they cleaned away the debris, it burned right up to the yard, and they were able to stop it.
And if those
and the building survived.
If those embers don't take you out, then that's when they get into those spots. And I've learned a lot. One of the things with building codes, I had hail damage, and I had plastic gutters, and they only let me put up vinyl gutters again. Well, I've found out in the last 17 months, vinyl gutters are the absolute wrong thing to do. But there was no county code that said, if you have a claim, you've got to rebuild to X standard. And they told me, you point to a code, and you can do this. So there's lots of different things. There are several counties that do wildland codes as opposed to building codes, or a combination of both. Right. The International Fire Codes, Chief Ware out of Pueblo County, and I don't think you were at the February recovery meeting, but he said those are the ones that include in the ordinances that you have to clean up the foundations. And those are the ones that would have required the things on the 319 grant we're trying to get now to clean up.
It's in the 2006 International Fire Code, one that I've asked the planning.
So it's...
But the point being I wanted to make sure was that
the mitigations...
We have some interest, we have some things going, and it's a matter of sitting down and seeing what makes
fact
sense.
Finding. So. I think we got to separate. And if there's a moment to make lemonade out of lemons, then I'm going to keep pushing the fire mitigation. And even if in my capacity I only can do anything as education, then that's where I'm going. And I think it's a huge opportunity for us. So.
Okay.
All right.
I see you got to climb over the mountain again, huh?
I did. That was actually good for me. I needed to get out of a chair for a day. And I think it was a good opportunity for the county to work with the Park Service.
Did it just fall, or?
Don't know. That was an interesting one. He'd been there probably 7 weeks. So.
He'd been there 7 weeks?
Yeah, he is the climber that was missing from, or hiker.
Hiker
That was missing.
Parked at the sand dunes and found him on top of the mountain.
Yeah, we got a little bit of inside information, but interesting case. So, anyway.
Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, and I will be out Friday and Monday, and we'll see.
And I'll make sure I get a packet.
I appreciate that, Donna. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's fun.
Thank you.
Take care.
See ya.
Kelly.
Public health.
Do you want me to send Donna over? Or you can take a break? Should I get Donna? Okay.
How
are you? Yeah. Good.
Okay.
Okay. Did you catch anything out there?
Nothing. You must have just cleaned it up.
We did. Sorry.
Hello. How are you, my dear? Good to have you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Oh, right. Are these yours?
Classes?
Yep, that's it.
All right. I don't really have very much stuff that's new. Oddly enough. So 21 immunizations for kiddos, 9 for adults last month. I did get the AEDs ordered for Wetmore Community Center. Should be here any day now. That being said, I put in for the RETAC grant to get money for those AEDs. So if that's approved through RETAC, then we have to use that money for the Wetmore grant AEDs, because RETAC does not fund like public, not really public, but private owned businesses. But they will do the community center. So
we'll have to switch those out. But nonetheless, Wetmore's getting them, and probably a few other places in Westcliff as well.
That's wonderful.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah. Also with that RETAC grant, I've put in for 2 more trainer AEDs because I'm doing at least 2 CPR first aid classes a month now.
Okay.
And they're booked up and I have a waiting list, so.
I know that.
So we should be moving forward on that.
You've had no skunks or anything, though? It's just
I
something
had
bad.
1 bat I sent in and it was negative, so.
I've not heard of any skunks here around. I've heard some in Colorado Springs area, but I've not heard of any in Warfno or Pueblo.
That have tested positive? No, there hasn't been any. Ray and Yuma, I think, is all that's had them actually.
I got nice out there.
So, yeah. And then I just want to touch on our situation with the clinic and our medical advisor.
And what?
We really no longer have a medical advisor for public health.
Okay.
Essentially what happened is all along, and I don't know how far back all along is, before Delwyn was there, obviously. The clinic and Custer County Public Health have had this relationship, and we being public health, ordered our vaccines through the clinic, and then Dr. Ginger Dunham Smith was our medical director because of that relationship. Now, as you know, we went to VaxCare last month, which has been great. We've been able to give, I should have separated that out a little bit more, but we've been able to give shingles vaccines and the Prevnar 13, which was previously not available in Custer County. So that's several vaccines of this 9 adult immunizations were those.
What's the cost for shingles?
Well, cost for, if you pay outright with no insurance, is close to $181.
I walk in the door with my insurance, so forth. Will that cover the shingles, or will there still be more?
Hopefully. If it doesn't, though, there's
well, and that's something that I think is important because
absolutely, and that's something that we're working on. And I'll finish my story to where we're having an issue here now. We do have the. Shoot, you have to forgive me because I'm still learning all these.
You're talking about Ginger Dunham.
But there's some kind of a vaccine program, anyways, that's through the state that if you're underinsured or uninsured, then vaccines are covered. So even if you have insurance and your insurance doesn't cover it, then you're qualified as underinsured, and then that vaccine, it's like Vax 13 or something.
how close a relationship do you have to have with the medical advisor? Or is this something we do long distance? Does it have to be?
Well, right now we're functioning under the state of Colorado physician advisor.
And that is not a good
We
thing?
will not be
or-
able to continue that for long term because they've made it clear that that'll be a temporary service that they are able to give us.
So when you and I and Delwyn met, the question on the table was really one of insurance, if I remember correctly. And Dr. Smith was concerned that if she worked for the county that her insurance might not be covered, and we thought it might be just a small amount. I told you and Dylan at the time that we could probably work it out. And where did it fall apart?
Okay, so let me tell you. Copic insurance is the malpractice insurance that physicians carry, and especially that covers public health. Okay? For us to supply that for Ginger would be over $3,000 a year.
Okay.
My frustration with the situation is that it could be provided through the clinic for $0 more. But the clinic refuses to have a partnership with the clinic, with
The
public
county?
health. The clinic is
Why?
refusing.
Do you have any idea why that is? Okay. I mean, we've always had a good working relationship, I thought.
For one thing, they're just certain that censure is going to come in and that we won't have any choice. not willing to work something out until the meantime, if that even happens. I've had several conversations with Mr. Lester, and he's not willing to bend on that. He's concerned that if there was a malpractice suit brought against Dr. Ginger under public health, that it would increase their premium, keeping in mind that there hasn't been a malpractice suit against any public health advisor since sometime in the 60s. But
If we could have someone, say from Heart of the Rockies, could they function as a medical advisor?
They could. We really could have several options. Yes. Now, that being said, we have Dr. Suzanne Beck. Are you familiar with her? So she actually does our sports physicals. She came last week and did our high school and junior high sports physicals. I'd like to contact her and see if she's interested in doing that. She's just newly retired physician. I have lots of documentation, which I think I've given you some as far as what the contract looks like between public health and the physician, like what they're expected to cover. Essentially, it's signing to be sure that we have representation in order to order vaccines, give vaccines. Also, to obtain our own Medicaid number so that we can bill Medicaid, Medicare, and use more of the grant money to provide vaccines for people that don't have insurance. We can't do that until we have a Medicaid physician advisor.
I think we have some doctors from Heart of the Rockies coming down to the clinic periodically. And I know Bob Morosco up there fairly well. If we need to, we'd be happy to take you along when you go visit.
Okay.
And see if there would be, and you also, you want to go visit and see what physicians up there that might be able to, if what you have going doesn't work out.
Okay.
Because I found them to be, I don't know, more accommodating than the big hospitals are.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Keeping in mind that there can be no relationship or communication between the public health department and the clinic, because that has been a line drawn in the sand.
Between the public health department and the clinic. So we couldn't use one of their doctors?
Nope. Not unless they carry their own insurance and
Yeah, but I mean, that's
completely separate
a
from
point of
the
discussion
clinic.
though, as we go to visit with them.
If they're willing to do it outside of the clinic and have no ties between the clinic and public health, that's fine, and that's on the doctor, and that's totally, we're willing to do that completely.
Let's see what happens. Follow yours, but let's see what happens.
Okay, so another thought on that I wanted to bring up. A lot of other, because I've been reaching out, what do you do to other counties, with their public health advisors. And a lot of places offer like $1,000 to $1,200 a year stipend to those physicians. Is that something that we might be able to accommodate?
It's cheaper than insurance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's something we need.
Yeah, we really can't go forward very far without it. So.
What you're talking, are you essentially thinking of this Dr. Susan Beck to do that?
I'm going to get a hold of her today, so I should have at least some feel for that.
Would you give me a call? Let me know how that works out.
I will.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I have a couple of other options too. Marianne Lesage. Mary Ellen, sorry, thank you. She was in my interview. But anyways, her daughter is a physician in Salida, and I just taught her CPR, so she might also be. I didn't teach her CPR. I did her research.
Is she affiliated with Heart of the Rockies?
She may be. I'm not sure. She's actually like in her residency. So.
Cool.
Yeah. So.
Good.
So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You're doing it good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll see you on Friday.
Yep.
Good.
Okay.
Thanks for all you do.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here.
Thanks, me too.
Thank you.
Most of the time. Except when I'm
Are
sitting
you
there.
having fun yet?
Absolutely. Look at my tan. Are you kidding me?
Getting all those
All right.
fish.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Donna, would you like to join us?
Such a nice one. They should have kept them.
Do you want me to see if I can get a hold of who's gonna be after
Is
Donna?
we've got Tim or Gary.
Okay, I'll see what I can do.
I'll see what I can find on there.
Or fifth, or whatever
On
the
there.
day is.
Hello. Hi. Cindy told me you guys, that a list was up, so if I came in, I could slide right on there.
You're in.
Well,
Let's see. Important part,
Thank you.
little,
This is it under the table panel.
yeah, that you had to pay first before you got back. Here are my handwritten checks that I need signed. And I brought the page in for the, and if we wanted to start from this end,
Okay.
that we could do, and I set it on there so it had like a backdrop to sign.
Do you need that also on the grants and the credit cards and all that?
Well,
There should have
and-
been a signature page.
And that there's several pages on for the credit card
Okay.
part on this one. So if we wanted to, anyways, I wasn't sure. So I had just like signage. That's all I have is signage this day.
Okay. I've got some more stuff for you too.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Have you heard any additional feedback about the handbook and the hours and all that since we approved that?
Yes, we did, and we settled it.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody has really came on board, I think. You know, I've not, if there was a complaint, then it wasn't that I got it.
what's this latch for?
That's
just curious.
Well, it was a weird thing. Corporate does the Bruckner account, and so they had bought a part, but they'd also bought the truck. But I was holding that truck check, so I separated it out and did this handwritten. I didn't want their account in arrears, but I also didn't want it muddled up holding it until they were handing it over for the truck. So it was a weird.
The quick answer is road and bridge.
Yeah, it was just an oddball so that they were compliant still.
I just want to follow up for you, Jay, that there was a question on the staggered time, which we settled. So it was just,
Okay, great.
those departments had to supply their staff 5 days a week with the staggered time, and that was
No
so.
problem. Yeah. Okay.
I received the paperwork for the SIPA grant, the $3,000 grant. So I've got the W-9,
Okay.
and then I don't know who is appropriate to sign that documentation.
Once that money comes in, we'll check you putting the cameras ready and doing what needs to be to get it up and running.
We've got a ways to go with that.
Okay.
And I would think any commissioner would sign it
Okay.
for us since it's coming through. Once in a while at once, just fine it. So either on those, and then I'll take a copy of each
And you
of
sign
those.
what you're saying.
And then the credit card, and it wasn't the charges, it wasn't how it was done, it wasn't anything except Keystone, I think. That Keystone, when those charges were done, and it was like 15209 they put on the cards, and I mean, it was a bizarre. In that respect, I have went through First State Bank, and we will get 3 separate cards that each one could be used, and you could go there. In theory, they should just hold the room, and then I would pay the check, but a lot of places will not take a check. So this way, it could either go on the card in each of your names, because you won or this, because if you check in and you weren't there yet, vice versa. I just put $1,000 limit on the cards. So it would be just 3 separate, and I think it would maybe, I'm not sure, I think it's just because it was Keystone that they could do quite a few little trisky little things to make it as hard as possible. But these have lots of weird signature spots. since you're each getting one, that each of you have to verify for the opposite one. Yeah. And so this is Bob's top and Donna, and then Donna and Bob, and then Bob and Jay, I would think, or Jay and Bob.
Can I clarify something?
Yeah.
It sounds like a Texan. J-Bob.
Who's
on first?
I know.
And the purpose of this card is to, please help me, I know we spoke about it and I don't remember why it was important for us to get a card.
Is a lot of hotels will not take a county check. Or a lot of them, if Brenda calls in and gets your reservations, that's fine, and I can send a check beforehand, and they're just paid for and done. But then you get these little quirky ones that they will, but they won't, but they have a deposit.
Which is what you and I experienced at Keystone.
Why can't I just put it on my personal card and turn an expense account?
You could absolutely do that, but sometimes if you do that, then they charge you tax.
They'll charge you tax.
Yeah, and this way with the county,
That's the problem I run into, is the tax thing.
I forgot.
on there. So, so this, I'm
County.
hoping this will make it so they can't do some of the weird.
I knew there was a reason, I just couldn't remember.
And then the back one is Virginia signs here, and then Bob on this one. I think I can keep.
What, we need to have a workshop and how to sign this thing?
Well, it is. By the time I was going, okay, this is okay, and so hopefully.
Do we have some for Kelly? She's living in Clint, they're left out.
Kelly has
I
her
have
own,
mine.
but she has hers that's done it through there.
No problem. I forgot.
And Clint should be free. He works hard. They see him and they're scared, and they say, "Come on in, Mr. Smith. Come on in."
You must be talking about somebody else.
This is Robert Katnig.
Oh, this is on
It's a pretty necklace, you know.
On there. Thanks. Peggy got me that for Christmas. It goes like with a million things. It's awesome. It's fun.
It's nice.
Thanks.
3 down, 5 to go.
Woo. I'll go to Virginia's and Jay's, so that's.
Oh, and Shannon
so
was just here.
You've got
Oh,
several on that one.
Now, here's 2 signatures. That goes
Okay.
back to you, right?
Perfect. Yep.
Which, just an FYI, that I was able to purchase 2 vacuums.
Oh, good deal.
I brought one in, when was that? Over the weekend, and I've got another in my truck, so I'll be putting it here for Mackenzie.
The zoning one, not that it matters, but as they go by, there's like a terrible air leak in your hair and everything blows off your desk. It's like you go, it is, I don't know what's wrong with that, but I'll be glad to see it hit the road.
I think your office looked a lot nicer.
Drop it off in
with the
front of
new one.
landfill when no one's looking. Don was
Yes.
only kidding. That happened over the weekend. That's why I said it. Don't do it.
Also, Cindy just had a request to use the Wetmore Community Center early in August. So I know you have prepared the initial foundation for the use policy. So you and I will have to get in touch.
Because I don't know how explicit or, I'd caught on the cleaning and the lights, because that's where we always, and not always had trouble, but a little bit of issues with the annex, that people would use it and, the heat was up to 90 and the trash was overflowing.
Nobody cleans.
Yeah.
So I'll say after our training, you and I will sit down and
that we can
try
get
to
it.
work on that next week.
Now, I'm confused. There was Donna and I. And then there was Jay and I.
You mean on this?
Yeah, I thought we had one more set to go. Jay's only signed 1.
And it's
He only had one.
because he's not a chairman or a vice chairman.
Okay.
But had it been the other way, he would have, whichever way.
Makes sense.
Okay, whew. And that's all I have.
Well, since you were here the last time, we also are now a member of Sam's Club. So, the county, yes. So we have, Donna has a MasterCard. I have one because I've been making the runs, and as soon as Brenda goes down and gets her picture taken, she has one. So tax-free on that. So.
Well, thank you, young lady. That's it.
That's it. Just sign our 49ers, that was all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Okay. You are cold.
Warm heart.
Ooh, you must have a really warm heart because your hands are like icicles.
It's from sitting in the same position now.
Mr. Tim,
Hey, ready for me?
sorry to keep you waiting.
I just skimmed
I'm
right
gonna
from
take
you.
out. If I say that, Tim, I got a meeting in
All
Coyle.
we have left is road and bridge.
You're welcome.
So we just move into the mall.
Personal, but I'm reading it. Oh, I won't take it personal. Ouch.
Thank you, sir. We'll just message you, but you must.
Did you want your copy? No. Look at it.
All right. I offered.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I'll take two next. Oh, okay. I'll double up. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
One for you.
Okay. We'll run right through this. I could probably get this through pretty quick today, so you guys have a busy day. So, monthly report, CVA 26, the state monthly report. The main highlights: office visits were 68 per month, phone calls 75. I lost a week. I was at the national conference out in San Diego, so anytime you lose a week, that always kills momentum, type of thing. So
How was the conference?
very good. Matter of fact, I'll just go ahead and get that out of the way as my third point on my agenda. But the national conference is always my second year. This year was great because last year I was in the accreditation class, so I was over in the newbie class while everybody was getting to listen to the undersecretaries and everyone else. So this year I was able to really learn quite a bit. 540 DSOs from around the country. 23 states were represented. So one of the main presentations was on the appeals process. The undersecretary who was responsible for VBA, which is where all compensation and disability claims are handled under his. He spoke for over an hour on the appeals process and what's going on. It's going to probably take about 18 months to get it, once Congress approves it, that they get it fully implemented. But once that happens, I think we're going to see a tremendous change in the backlog from that point going forward. The catch to the appeals process being overhauled is that everybody, the 300-some thousand claims that are in the appeals process now, will run its course in the old system. So there's still people, they're two,
Better
three.
off to apply into the new system.
Well, the only problem with that is if you're into year 3, 4, or 5 waiting for that appeal, and then you reapply, you lose all that retroactive pay. So that's the problem there. So at some point, they're going to have 2 appeals processes running. So that's my only concern when I hear that, is that they're having trouble running one, how are they going to manage 2? But if the new system does what it's supposed to do, it could be great.
Do you know any of the folks from Colorado Springs?
Yeah, I know them in passing. I know who they are. I get to see them once a year at this state conference type of situation. So.
Well, I kind of got in the middle of 3 of them.
You did?
I ran into them at the airport, and they were just coming back from the conference.
Okay, from the national conference.
National.
Okay.
And I asked 2 or 3 questions, and this one guy said, "Well, smaller counties can't handle that kind of stuff. They just do that much business."
And that's the fight I'm fighting.
And I said, "Ma'am, excuse me." And
Yeah.
I explained to her what you're doing and what your caseload is. And I said, maybe you guys need to come down and train with him to see how to be more efficient.
I've got a case right now that I'm trying to fix that was originally handled by that office in the Springs, and they screwed it up, royally screwed it up. The problem that they have, Denver Springs and even Pueblo, is the volume that they're handling through that office. They don't have the time to spend on the individual. Their goal is get them in, get them out, get them in, get them out. They don't have the time to research and prep the appeals and so forth that I'm able to do. So our situation here is we have the opportunity to have one of the best BSO offices in this state by far.
We do.
We do, because we have the volume to justify the hours. but I've got the time to individually focus. I had some come in the other day. I ended up spending 2.5 hours with him because his appeal and his VA hearing is next month, and I had to dig back just the last 7 years in the VA system to find some things I was looking for and discuss with him. That doesn't happen in Denver Springs. They don't have time.
They just push it aside.
They just push it aside and say, okay, and they just move it forward. They don't even go to the hearings. They don't have time. They can't close up the office on it, which is in this state is one of the biggest injustices, as far as my opinion, is that the veterans aren't getting the best level of help that they should get, and then they end up in the appeal process because they get denied. Our state has a high level of first-time denial.
Well, I was kind of insulted as they said, well, small counties can't do that. And what you're doing is tremendous, and I thought they needed to know it.
I appreciate that. I got to spend a little time with some of them down there, but
these are 3 young ladies in there.
Yeah.
Early careers, I think.
Yep.
What's your number of contacts? I don't see that on the page.
It's on the very first one. Contacts, phone call 75, office visit 68 for the month. On the very first page there.
But you just give us a total of...
on the database.
Yes.
Okay, that's the third page on your copy, which is... Did I give you your copy? I give you your copy. Oh, maybe I didn't. I gave you the original. Maybe I didn't give you your copy. Sorry about that. Third page in, we're now at 380.
Here, you need...
Yeah, you need that. Yeah. Okay. So 380. So we continue around the 10 per month growth on average is what we're running, growing the database. So at this rate, July, August, by September we should break 400, and we just keep growing on that.
Now, these are individual vets.
Mm-hmm. Individual vets. Yep.
So if we're looking at 1,200 vets in the county, you are almost contacting. You're sure hitting over 30% of them.
Yep. But that's not acceptable.
Hmm?
That's not acceptable.
No, but I mean,
but we're getting there.
Where we are,
it's
and I would bet that this would probably exceed most of the surrounding counties on a percentage basis.
Definitely, it'd be interesting to see what Chaffee County has in their database, what Warfield County, and what Fremont County. Fremont County, even on the VA's report, shows them over 7,000 vets in their county. Their office is only open 20 hours a week. And that's why I'm getting more and more calls from Kansas City. They're coming up. And that's why I'm projecting or anticipating once I start doing the 1 day a month back down in Wetmore, at some point I'll probably have to go to 2 days a month. That's my expectation on that. In Warfield County, he works 4 to 8 hours and he really doesn't even have an office down there. So his visibility is very low. He works from home primarily. You get the call. And so the vast majority of Warfield vets are right now going either to Pueblo or to Trinidad. So one of the interesting things is we've had a couple of folks from here who have gotten involved with the Legion down there. And matter of fact, Ivan Brooks, who's the grant administrator from the VFW, has encouraged them to look into. They have never applied for the Veteran Trust Fund grant program down there. And this year they did, and they got approved for $10,000. So we're actually going to kind of help mentor them, Warfield County, how to do this grant program this year. They're going to come up when we kick it off to see how we do it and then replicate it. So it's kind of exciting to be part of that. They weren't even aware of the program. But that's 10 grand, not a lot, but it'll help some vets down there this year. So,
how do you identify a unique patient?
Unique patient, according to the GDX report, someone that's using the VA system for health care. Okay. And here's the problem. One, I'm not convinced that report's anywhere near right, because I know we got more than that many vets.
I said they got 542, but this was back in 15. So.
Well, as a matter of fact, the new one is attached. It was just released. It says 15 at the top, but then you look at the second header, it says fiscal year 16. One of the problems with the unique patient thing with the VA is if you're in the system, but then you don't do an appointment in a 24-month period, they drop you. So we keep adding, and then they keep dropping. We keep adding, they keep dropping. Okay, this type of thing. So we have a lot of vets who think they're enrolled in the healthcare system. They haven't gone for 3, 4, 5 years for an appointment, and they're not in the system anymore. And so that's why the first number, the 544, that encompasses medical, GI Bill, bulk rehab, people who have used the home loan program, all that. So I think that's pretty consistent. About 50% probably show up, but we have a lot of vets that I continue to enroll first time or do first time claims or have never done anything with the VA. So last year we were at 522, this year we're at 544, and that should continue to grow. But the unique patient thing as far as the medical, I'm not convinced that the VHA side has a real good control on that number. They've had a lot of data issues with their system, so as far as that goes. So
I just want to add, I had a commissioner's coffee a couple weeks ago, and Ivan was present, and we spoke after the coffee, and I offered to have vets come to cut wood for winter. So I don't know if he had a chance to talk to you about that.
yeah, we did a little bit, and then he had to leave. He's out of town for about a month, so we did talk about it though. So we're trying to
I know this is the time of the year you want to
Yes.
do that.
Yes. Yeah, one of the things, what we'd like to be able to do, and we're looking for a spot, is to just have a huge stash of wood, because we probably have 10, 15 vets a year at least using their $300 to pay for firewood. So if we could somehow provide that, then they could use that $300 for
I know. I
propane,
agree. Now,
food, and so
he
forth.
actually told me he had about 5 acres, I don't know where, to store that wood.
Yep.
So he's got the spot. I've got the wood.
Okay.
We just need to get together.
We'll be there. Well, as soon as he gets back in town, we'll run up a posse of
Okay.
We'll come in there. So, one of the other things, so we're talking about the conference. One of the things that came up, as a matter of fact, I just got notified about training the 21st of this month. One of the undersecretaries presented a presentation. They're running a test that's out of Minneapolis right now. They've had 20 claims that were processed, and what they're classifying as decision-ready claims. And what that means is you got everything together for the claim, and what they're going to do is when you go to a comp and pen medical exam, the doctor does an opinion. He uses a standard, what they call a disability benefit questionnaire form. Okay, that's standard for all docs. That's how they're keeping the exam somewhat uniform. So what they're going to try to set up is they're going to try to set up a network of doctors across the country who are going to be contracted and willing. They're private practice, but they are willing to do these DBQs. So right now, all the time, when I work on a disability claim, I give them a copy of the DBQ. I say, go see your doc, see if they'd be willing to do this DBQ. Sometimes they're 2 or 3 pages long. Some are as long as 8 or 10 pages long. We probably run about 30% will do them, 70% won't do them. Okay, but if they do them, we have a much higher chance of getting that claim approved, because when they go for the exam, now the DBQ's already been done for that doc. He's just looking to confirm what that doctor's saying, which is a whole different mindset type of thing. So they're going to set up this network of docs where a veteran can call. I'd be able to give them a number. Hey, you need an orthopedic DBQ. Boom, call this doc. They'll go do the exam, get the DBQ, bring it back to me. I'll put it with the claim. We can then consider that if we have everything else, plus the DBQ, that'll be a decision-ready claim. That claim will go straight to a rater. It'll bypass the whole system.
A lot faster.
The first one I did, 4 days, start to finish. Approved in 4 days.
Versus
and that's the goal.
2 years or 3 years.
Yeah, instead of 6 months, 18 months, 24 months.
Where will this training be?
Well, it's either going to be in Denver. They're looking to see if they're going to be able to have remote access for it. They haven't been confirmed, so I'm hoping I can just do it remotely. The other thing that part of this process, and here's another big issue of why accreditation through VA is so important, because the only reps that are going to be eligible to submit these claims this way is the accredited reps. So Fremont County won't be able to submit these decision-ready claims. Chaffee County won't. Werfel County won't. Okay, so that's why I think I'm going to end up, once this hits the deal and they start, it's going to go out. Oh, I need to go find a accredited rep in order to do this quicker claim process. That's going to happen, because the other thing they're going to do is they're going to give me access to medical records, so that I can go get the DBQ done. Plus, I can go into, right now I have access to VBA side, but I don't have access to VHA side. Yep. So that's part of the training.
Go to this?
Yeah, if I have to go to Denver, it's just travel back and forth. That might
If you need, go if you need to. I mean, I'm maybe speaking out of turn, but I
my travel
agreement that this will help facilitate the process.
Oh, absolutely.
We need to help out with that.
But this is a huge
Oh,
change.
it's
Um,
light years ahead.
And the other thing that's incorporated this, matter of fact, when he opened up the question and answers for the Undersecretary Tom Murphy, a California VSO got up, and he gets up. First thing he says is, "Well, Mr. Secretary, thank you for the D360 process where we can upload claims. This." He just raved about this great system, and I looked around. And I said, "What the heck is he talking about?" I had no clue. So when he sat down and we went on break, I tracked him down. And I said, "What's this D360?" He said, "Oh, you don't have it?" "No, never heard of it." And I asked the other 7 or 8 people in Colorado, they heard of it? "Nope, no one heard about it." These 360 is part of this decision-ready claim. It had already been fielded as one of the areas in the regional office out in California. I come back after he explains what it is. What it is right now I'm faxing all my claims into Janesville, Wisconsin, which is the intake center for the VA. I'm faxing. Matter of fact, the last one I did right before I left for the conference was 39 pages long.
Jesus.
Okay.
You have to fax, not scan them?
Well, and that's what this D360 is going to do. And so I started researching when I came back, and I Googled it, couldn't find it, but I found, called the office out in California, they mentioned Data Dimension 360. Well, Data Dimension is the company that has the contract with the VA for Janesville Intake Center. They have developed now this platform where you can take your claim, scan it into a PDF, go through their portal, put a cover sheet that's on their screen, hit the button, it's in their system. What that's going to do is right now when we're all faxing stuff to Janesville, somebody there has to take it and scan it in and make a PDF. So they're smart enough to understand they got this 5-year renewed contract that they can VSOs to do that part. They're going to save millions of dollars at that end. And it's going to make it a smoother transition. So anyways, so that's part of this training. I already got the login to the 360, so I already have access to that. And so once this class is done, I'll be able to start sending my claims that route instead of faxing them in. And so it's timestamped immediately in the VA system, effective that day. So that's huge. That's a huge thing. Okay. BVA hearing, I'm still trying to get them over to DU, but I've got 2 that I just found out about that are all within the next 30 days. So that's not enough reaction time to get DU involved. Okay. So one's July 22nd, one's August 4th. The August 4th one may get canceled. I have to have a consult with the veteran because I don't think he has a real good case on that one, but we're going to talk about it. While I'm up there on the 26th, I'm going to have a meeting at the law school with Ann Vessel up there to talk more about the...
26th is your... Which one again?
26th of July. I have a BVA hearing, a BVA judge. That's a second level.
So you got a 26th BVA hearing.
Yeah, and then the meeting at the law school, it's going to be on the same day after the hearings at...
and that's the same time?
Yeah, same day.
Good.
Yep. So, okay. All right, mention Wetmore. Number 9, DIC claims 3 surviving spouses. 2 were in the last couple months. And one of my surviving spouses, Vietnam vet, he actually passed away 4 years ago while they were in Texas. The daughter lives here. They moved mom up here. In those discussions, we found out that she had never applied. He was a 100% disabled vet. So there's thousands of those surviving spouses around the country. The VA does not send a letter out to surviving spouses saying, "Hey, you're eligible for blah, 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 blah. Please apply." If they don't find out, they don't find out. So that's just the system. So. And one thing I wasn't, and I did attach a copy, and we already talked about the GDX report. The one number that I wanted to point out in it, if you look at it, and I put the 15 on the bottom there. Total expenditures on behalf of veterans in this county, 2015 was $4.84 million. Last year was 145. And the number that really impacts the county directly, which is huge, is compensation and pension. As I mentioned a couple months ago, that's the money the veterans are getting deposited directly into their bank accounts that they spend here locally. Okay, and 2015 was 2.8 million. Last year was 3.2 million. So it was a nice jump. The three factors that affect that number is getting the claims process improved. Veterans moving into the area, they're already rated, and there's this real small cost of living increase in there each year. Okay, so right now I've got 84 open cases of disability claims. Some are still in the early stages of being put together. Some are in, waiting the initial decision. Some have been appealed at the first level, and some are waiting BVA hearing. So we have a full buffet of all sorts of types of claims as far as that goes. Okay.
I'm going to ask a favor because I see
Yes.
you got your continuing education
Yes.
certificate. Can you please give Donna copies for your file?
Yes, I can do it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Coming on Friday, 10 o'clock.
Yes, my plan is to be there.
Okay.
I've got to juggle. My dad got approved for a $2,000 grant from the VA. We're making our bathroom handicap accessible. My contractor started at 8 o'clock Friday morning, so I've got to be there to make sure we're on the same sheet of music. Okay. I'm going to do all the demo before he gets there in the evening, so
Do you have an original
my plan is
to
to be there.
sign?
You already signed it.
Yeah, you gave it to him.
Okay, you got that?
Yeah.
Because I see someone there looks like part of the original one I got back on my page. Looks like.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
So, Tim, you continue to amaze me. You were only there 15 days, 3 weeks last.
3 weeks last month. Yeah.
So that was 12 days.
Yeah, basically 12, but it felt like a lot more.
12 to 15 days. And in that
Feels
time
like it
period,
doesn't.
you had 68 people go through your office. 12 days.
Yeah. About working days. Yep, pretty much. Yeah. Unfortunately, some of those are pretty short and sweet and pretty simple. Some of those,
that's an
but then
awful
some of
lot
them are
contacts.
two and a half hours long.
If they have 2 or 3 pages of paperwork attached to them.
Yeah, it all depends. It's such a wide range of what you're doing. If someone that's just asking about how do I get in the healthcare system, 30 minutes in and out, we're done. If it's having to do with putting claims together, then we're looking at multiple appointments depending on how complex, how many issues. Is it just hearing? Hearing claim, I can knock it out in 15 minutes. If you got someone that's got shoulder, back, hip, knees, ankles, PTSD, TBI, all in one claim, we're talking that those claims put together can take 4 to 6 months to get everything we need. So it's a big range. So.
And we're getting our personnel manual finished up, and we'll get the evaluations.
Okay, cool. Can I have one more thing real quick, just a heads up. On my budget for this year, originally, there's another second organization that I've joined that is called National Organization of Veteran Advocates. Primarily, it's an organization of lawyers who represent veterans before the VA types of. There are some VSOs involved. I joined. And when I did join, I was shocked to find out that I am the only VSO in the state that has joined this organization. It's got some of the top leading law firms in the country working with VA law for 20 plus years. Okay, they have a conference coming up in October. In my budget, I don't have enough money to go to that conference. It's only Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But in my budget was for maintenance was $1,000 that was going to use for garden this year, for Veterans Garden, and that kind of fell apart this year. So I was going to make a request and see, is it legally possible to repurpose $1,000 of that to go to that conference?
Yeah, we're going to be discussing that on Friday.
So I can read it Friday.
Donna actually asked our accountants, and that was my request, and yes, it is legal to do it.
Okay.
So we just have to approve that as a group, but I had requested quarterly that we look at our budget, because if we need to move things around, you are allowed to. It's just never been done here before. So.
It's a level of training that I'll never see at the state level. Mm-hmm. Some of the same speakers come to the conference, but it's a chance. The membership for that, be part of the organization, is worth it's $150 a year, just to look at the boards as lawyers talk back and forth. Hey, I got this guy case and so forth. I try to spend an hour a week just reading what they're discussing, because I've learned a tremendous amount on the legal side aspect just from that.
Listening.
Yes, just the discussion boards.
Where is the conference?
It's gonna be in Florida, St. Pete, in Florida.
Gosh, that's tough.
And it's still gonna be hot in October. So, but yeah, it's something.
The only concern I have with this, saying this facetiously, but I don't want you to get so highly trained we can't keep you.
Well,
Sure he's getting offers.
You don't have to give me an answer.
no, well, and to be totally honest, our goal is I live in Rosita.
Stay here.
Jackie Hobby told me that once I got 5 years in Rosita, I can buy a plot. Okay, I'm a mile up the road, so me and my wife love it here. We love to stay here. I like to work to 70 and then just be around. I really am trying to keep also long-term goal of this office in mind. My goal is to get to a certain level, and I mentioned before is if we get the whole package to a certain level, the year before I retire, I would go recruit 4 cars from Pete Field, the Air Force Academy, and so forth.
I know you are. I'm just kind of pulling your leg, but
no, I know
it's helping. It's helping our veterans. We're getting better service with each step you take.
Yeah. I mentioned when I took the job, my goal was to make this the best diesel office in the state. But that's the battle, as you mentioned, is the attitude in the state. Even that if you're rural, I even had a phone call from the American Legion VSO who full time up the regional office. He's going to come down the 5th of September. He's going to spend a little time in my office, and this is. But even he made the assumption that, well, you're rural, so I'm full time, and he just assumed I was part time without knowing. I said, well, guess what? I'm full time. I'm accredited, and I have access just like you do.
Yeah, but our demographics are the highest in the state.
Per capita, it is, and it's growing. It's growing. I think that's the thing to keep in mind, and trying to anticipate the need that's coming down the pike, because we're going to get more and more Afghanistan, Iraqi vets coming up here.
Great. I do want to meet with you because I've got your keys for your new office.
Oh.
Okay. So I need to give you the 2 keys, one for the outdoor key and then one to get in the office. So I'll catch up with you.
Okay.
You'll see
I'll
me.
be there.
Okay.
All right. Any questions for me? Anything?
Thank you.
We have to motion to adjourn. To
approve my report.
I'll make a motion to approve his report.
I'll second.
Question, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Okay. Cool. Thank you, sir.
And I see, oh, there you are. I see Virginia's been in and out. We need to see what she needs. You're sitting there.
It's no big deal. Our report that I give is hinged on what Donna does in her office, and she just now got her stuff done. And Susie's not here tomorrow, so we won't have a report for you tomorrow.
Okay.
So table till the next time. Do you need to transfer any money?
Not yet.
Okay.
We're getting closer, but not yet.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks for the
Thank you.
For the warning.
Any other business for the board at this time?
No, sir.
I declare the meeting adjourned at 1 p.m.